Glenn, good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. If it's Friday, that means the Chief Grand Poobah. Stan the Fan Charles is back in studio with us. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Hopefully I won't have to run out in the middle of the show. Hopefully we can just have a nice normal one on a Friday.
Yeah, thanks for ruining our New Year's Eves.
Yeah, well. Yeah. I'm sure yours was the problem.
I was gonna be in New York. In Times Square.
Wow. Why? Have you ever done that?
Because it's fun, apparently.
No, it is the opposite of fun. It is the single worst. If you've ever thought, looked at that on TV and said, I'm going to go ahead and put that on my bucket list, don't. It's the worst event.
How old were you when you went?
I was 9. It was right after 9/11, so I was...
Oh, that's a good year to have done it.
Well, that was the thought process, was that the crowds would be down, and if there was ever a year to go, it was that year because... there would not be nearly as many people that would be in Times Square.
Great thought process.
Well, it was. There were far fewer people that were in Times
Mr. Thinker
Square.
stand. Yeah.
The difference being, it didn't change how there's nothing to do.
Right. What time did you get?
In order to get anywhere close
6
to where the
o'clock,
ball is,
7 o'clock.
you got to be there by 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
And then you're just standing there like an idiot for 8 hours. There's nothing to do. There's no... They don't have jugglers in the street or anything like that. They might come by and hand you a stupid hat. They
don't come out and hand you a Dunkin' Donut or a powdered donut.
No. You know what else there aren't? Bathrooms. So when you think to yourself we'll bring some flasks. We'll we'll get by. We'll take a Gatorade bottle.
You got
and
to take a crap and
it's just you got to pray that because once you get there. They lock you into the block.
Right.
The block that you're in, they shut it off.
Right.
And if you leave, you can't get back in. If you go around outside the police barricade, you're not allowed back in.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever is on that block that you're locked into, you got to pray there's a pizza shop or something that you can go get some food, hope they have a bathroom, because in New York, like other places, even if they have a bathroom, they're not likely to let you use it.
Right. What if there's a flower shop?
A flower?
Could you get something to eat?
You eat the flowers? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
There was a pizza shop on our block when we were there.
Oh, lucky you.
They were a-holes about it. There was one bathroom. There was not men's and women's bathrooms. There was one bathroom. There was an extraordinary line for the bathroom. We were doing math. At one point, we said, we should just leave, right? We attempted, not worth it.
Right. We can be back in Baltimore.
Yeah, 100%. But we stuck it out, and it sucked. And then we all kind of quietly didn't talk about how much it sucked until we got back.
Yeah.
Once we got, because we were staying at a buddy's place in New York. Once we got back on the second, we all texted, or I don't think we texted because it was 2001. I don't think there was any of that going on. But we all called each other and said, that was the worst experience we've ever had doing anything. We will never, ever in our lives do that again. And every time I look at the TV screen and see all those people, I just keep thinking about how miserable of a night it must be for them. There's nothing.
Answer me a question. When Ryan Seacrest, the Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve, who's the blonde that he had on for several years? The one who was...
Jenny McCarthy?
Yes. Was she on the other night?
I didn't watch the other night. I didn't turn on anything.
There was a blonde up with him.
Yeah.
And my wife was sleeping, and then she got up and goes, yeah, it's Carrie Underwood.
Oh, good for Carrie Underwood.
And I'm going, that's not Carrie Underwood. It's that
McCarthy.
Jenny McCarthy. I couldn't tell.
They all the blondes look alike to you. Stan's once you've had a lot, it's really hard to differentiate.
There was that one night with Jenny McCarthy.
Anyway.
Until she opened her mouth.
Oh, stop. Jenny McCarthy's a lovely woman, I'm sure. She's got some thoughts. But anyway, she's a little... Anyway, the moral of the story...
Carrie Underwood did perform the other night, so maybe it
must have been Carrie Underwood, because I don't ever remember her up on the stage with Ryan Seacrest. She was always making out with Wahlberg's brother.
Well, or random strangers in the crowd. That was a bit.
So that's why you go.
On, yeah, it's weird. That year, Didn't get
What's
selected to be
Wahlberg's
Donnie
brother?
Wahlberg.
Donnie.
Is who you're thinking of.
Yeah, I don't think they're an item anymore.
Speaking of miserable experiences, Maryland basketball.
Oh. We have to?
Hey, here's what's coming up on the program today. I guess I should say that first. We lots of Ravens today. In a few minutes, our buddy Chuck Pagano is going to join us. He believes the Ravens defense is now Super Bowl caliber. We'll talk to him about that. PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka checks in with us a little bit later on. Also this morning,
He must be ecstatic. Navy wins, Notre Dame wins.
That's true. That is a good point.
And the Ravens are going to win.
I think he tries to be impartial about that one. I think he does his best when it comes to that. Speaking of the Ravens, they'll play the Browns, and we'll bring on our buddy Gerard Cherry, 3-time Super Bowl champion. I don't know what we'll talk about, but we'll come up with something. I say that like the Browns didn't beat the Ravens earlier this year, but my God, it's a 20-point spread. The Browns were already bad and didn't know if they had a quarterback. On top of that, then they put the injury report out yesterday, and nobody's playing in this game. I don't know who their running backs are for this game. Jerome Ford's not playing.
I didn't look closely.
Pierre Strong's not playing.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Is Jim Brown playing?
It might be that they have to dig up the bones of Jim Brown and hope that he can go on Saturday because they've got nobody. And then later on in the program, Dan Orlovsky from ESPN, who's going to be on the call tomorrow for ABC and ESPN for the game. He will join us as well. So all that,
Is that a
coming up.
Tirico thing?
No. He would have happily talked to you if you had been available at the time he was available. It's not a blood feud.
I didn't get a call.
Oh.
Well, you wanted to drive in here on 30 minutes notice to
Not really.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Good thought.
Yeah. So that's where we are. All right. Anyway, so that's coming up on the program today. Yeah. Griffin, really quick, I was just informed this is unfortunately the final weekend to take advantage.
Oh,
it does not extend into the postseason. Last chance if you haven't been out to Live Casino and Hotel to take advantage of this.
Then you better get out there tomorrow because all season long it has been every time that Baltimore or Washington's football teams are scoring touchdowns during home games, Live Rewards members are getting $7 in free slot play. So that, as Glenn said, that makes tomorrow the final day as you have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor, and be actively playing to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, home touchdowns by Baltimore, you get $7 free.
And Washington,
Washington,
if
they're
not playing at home.
Yeah, unfortunately, they are away this weekend.
Far be it from me to advise Live Casino. They do a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
But why
By the way,
they,
Live Casino at Ronald Mills must be 21.
okay.
Please play responsibly. For help visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800.
Stan, the answer is because they'll be doing plenty of other wonderful promotions. And so we'll look forward to promoting those things starting next week.
Seems
They'll
like
be
the
doing
playoffs would be
wonderful promotions at Live Casino and Hotel starting next week. We love Live Casino and Hotel, and we would never question any decision that they would make.
But
we look
but
for, no,
they're gonna,
no,
teams are gonna be
Stan,
in the playoffs.
they'll have other great promotions starting
They
next
always
week,
do.
and we'll look forward to telling you all about them right here on
But
GCR.
not the
Stan,
playoffs.
Stan, love Live Casino and Hotel. They've never made a mistake in any decision they've ever made. It would never be a mistake for you. It would never be a mistake for you to visit Live Casino.
Especially when you're
and
getting $7 in free slot play.
That's right. That's the case.
But just this
anyway,
final
so
week.
Maryland loses last night. Yay! This is why the other day when you were shaking your head about my frustration for the game against UMES, this is exactly these trips to the Pacific Northwest that Maryland has never experienced before. As they reiterated about 1 billion times in the broadcast last night, the first ever all-time meeting between Maryland and Washington. This was something that they had no experience with. Now, does that excuse it? Not at all. Not one bit. It required them to be sharper than they usually would be. The biggest story, of course, last night being that Derek Queen was utterly a non-factor. I mean, Jacoby Gillespie was a non-factor, and somehow Derek Queen was worse than that. It actually is borderline miraculous they were even in the game, given that Derek Queen and Jacoby Gillespie did nothing. Nothing. When your two best players do nothing, it's really hard to win any basketball game. For Derek Queen, he's a freshman, right? Like there inevitably are going to be games like this. Do I know that it was I don't know that it was about what Washington was doing against him, although give them credit. They were physical as hell up front.
I mean, that was what they did. They got him into foul trouble immediately. And
with some of
no
them
way to
being really ticky-tack calls.
the
really.
fourth one
was
Julian Reese,
egregious. Yes, that was egregious. But by that point, he was already out. By that point, Derek Queen was rattled. He wasn't really helping anyway. He was rattled.
Well, it was especially frustrating in the second half, though, when they were hanging with them. It was clear that Washington had the momentum in the game, and those 3 missed foul shots, like on the front ends of 2 shots.
This is the other. They didn't make a 3 in the second half.
Yeah, they only made 2 the whole game.
They barely attempted any in the second half. I think they attempted 4. As bad as the game was, the live stats were awful.
They were defensively really thrown off their game last night. Meaning Washington's defense.
Oh, it was throwing. I'm like, I thought defensively they actually were pretty good. And then you just kept waiting, and this is the problem. I don't want to overreact to any one game, and I do think there will be other teams this year. As much as Washington hasn't looked very good to start the season, I do think there will be other teams that will come from across the country and struggle. Although, ironically, on the same night, Illinois goes to Oregon and throttles Oregon. So now on top of having to play Oregon next, they got to play a pissed-off Oregon team. I think there will be other teams that will struggle making the trip. This is uncharted territory for anyone. No one has had to go across the country like this to play a conference game before. This is crazy. It is. It's nuts. In the same way that we saw, a lot of these West Coast teams struggle during football season when they came east. It's going to be a struggle for other teams. That said,
Illinois didn't struggle.
No, they sure as hell didn't. There's no doubt about that. All of that said, it doesn't excuse this. And this is, from a basketball standpoint, maybe not the end of the world. You're gonna lose. It's difficult to win on the road in conference play. It's always been difficult.
Yep.
It'll be difficult for lots of other teams will lose conference road games. But it's painful in context for wanting to really buy in. Wanting to buy in that this was a team that's maybe capable of making a magical run this year. Maybe those types of things, getting the community to buy in, require not losing games to teams like Washington. You lose to Oregon on Sunday, no harm, no foul. Everybody comes. They win last night the way that they were supposed to, and then they're competitive against Oregon on Sunday, but ultimately in the end, a pissed-off Oregon team wins that game. The fan base likely says, okay, that happens. Just come back and get them against UCLA, all good. We'll have a raucous crowd on Friday night, national TV game. We're all in. Losing this game makes people start doing that. They start checking to see what your road record has been in the Big Ten. And Kevin Willard's road record in the Big Ten has been really bad. Really bad. They start questioning whether or not there's actually something going on, or whether you just played a down non-conference schedule and happened to blow out Ohio State. And I don't know what the answer is yet. There's a long time for us to figure that out. This
was one of those games, though, that we were sort of all on the fence, waiting to see if a shoe dropped. Well, last night the shoe dropped.
Oh, it felt like it.
It felt
like it. I mean,
they didn't feel like a team that was poised to be a Sweet 16 team.
No, they look like a team that was lost.
Yeah,
they look like a team, and the other part too that I think unfortunately a lot of people, it just seemed like they were sleepwalking and not really trying to shake out of it. I kept waiting for Kevin Willard to be like, it felt like because they were ahead or it was close, he kept sort of saying they're gonna figure it out. I don't want to rattle them by calling timeout and making it seem like I think there's a problem. I'm just going to let them work through it. And you could tell, even as they were ahead in the first half, that it wasn't right. That they were not comfortably running an offense. They were getting some transition baskets, and that was why they did have a lead, and it ballooned up to 7 or 8 early in the second half. But they never.
That's when they really seemed to let down, or Washington's energy came back, was when Maryland had that lead extension early in the second half.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it was like a
it's
9-0
like
run after that point.
Yeah.
And it kind of never looked back.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know what to say. It means as much as whatever the next couple of results are. If they turn around and they beat Oregon and then they come home and beat UCLA, we will be more inclined to forget that this ever happened. But it kind of requires that. There's only one trip out west this season. That's the good news. This is the only one, these two games. They don't have to go back to UCLA, USC. This is the only long trip they're making. But man, bad. Just bad. Woof type of performance. And you would expect, obviously, a far better version of Derek Queen on Sunday. Does that mean that they're going to win? I can't tell you, but you would expect a far better version. If there's good news, Towson got a win they needed last night.
They did. Yeah, they did. It was an ugly basketball game.
Who'd they beat?
Wilmington.
Yeah.
On the road.
It's an overtime, just Towson basketball.
They needed a win. That's all I can say. They needed a win. And then the final piece of the college football playoff semifinals was put together yesterday as Notre Dame. With respect, and I mean this is from like a fan standpoint, I don't think Riley Leonard was great, but I don't need any more backup quarterbacks moving forward because I'm neutral. Like I'd say a dislike. I'll largely root against Notre Dame for the most part, like just because they annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole aura thing, the obsession that people have with them, despite the fact they haven't largely been very good for a long time. Like it annoys me. But from a largely neutral standpoint, I would just say I don't need backup quarterbacks continuing to play in big games. Like I'm good. And Gunnar Stockton wasn't abysmal yesterday, but there was nothing there. There was nothing to see there, and it wasn't a good game. It was a game that was close enough in the second half that you kept your eyes on it, but it sure wasn't a aesthetically pleasing game by any stretch of the imagination. It turned on two plays, right? The definition of that game was the strip sack late in the first half and then the kickoff return to start the second half. And those two things, it was a 23-10 game.
And the kid that tried to tackle the ref.
Well, the guy from Georgia
that didn't help.
Who wasn't playing yet. It was dumb. It for sure was dumb. There's no doubt about it. But boy, yeah. This is the funny part is I keep looking at these teams like now it's Notre Dame, Penn State. I think both those teams are mid as hell.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like they couldn't be more mid, and one of them is going to play for a national championship.
What are the two teams? Say the games are Notre Dame and
Penn State and Ohio State, Texas.
I would pick Ohio State.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
would obviously pick Ohio State in that
there,
group.
Stan.
But I would kind of just say I think whoever wins that game is winning the national championship. Penn State and Notre Dame to me have done nothing. And this goes back to we didn't need a 12-team playoff. We never asked for this. There aren't 12 national championship caliber teams in college football every year.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm glad that Arizona State got to be a part of the playoff. I think it's right that Boise State got to be part of the playoff. Like I think that should happen. But even the teams that are left, I think two of them are good and two of them are Notre Dame's path to this point was that they beat Indiana, who we all knew were frauds after what they did against Ohio State, and then they beat a backup quarterback. Penn State got here by beating SMU and Boise State. There's nothing that either one of these teams has done that's made me say that's a national championship caliber team. There's no one that Notre Dame has beat all year. Go back and look at their schedule. Like, they didn't do anything.
Beat Navy.
Thank you. By the way, Navy and Army, their best wins of the year. Their best wins.
On there.
Okay. Okay.
Why'd you take your headsets off?
I didn't. I'm putting them on.
Oh.
We're having a guest come on. I didn't have them.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah. Now I'm putting them
My
on.
powers of observation betrayed me.
Yeah. Notre Dame, Penn State, it will be next Thursday, and then next Friday, Ohio State, Texas in the semifinals. And then, obviously, the following Monday or 2 Mondays after that will be the national championship game on the. I guess that's on the 20th. I guess that's on Inauguration
So
Day.
how many extra games do these kids play? 4 for some of the teams, or is it 3?
Well, yeah, it'd be 4 total.
If you're in
total
your
and all the teams that are left. So all 4 teams that had a bye are out. So all of these, whoever wins the national championship would have played 4 playoff games this year.
I guess they want to get their money's worth out of these kids.
Well, I mean, look, man.
It's not like they're playing for free.
No, they
anymore.
sure as hell aren't. Yeah. That's the case. And then for everybody doing the bit about, like, well, does this prove that the bye is problematic? Like, no, there's 4 really. 2 of the teams that got byes, no one believed had a chance of winning their games. No one thought Arizona State or Boise State could win their first round game. It's kind of miraculous that Arizona State was as competitive as they were. And then the other 2, one had a backup quarterback, the other one had to face Ohio State. No, I don't think this told us anything about the bye. This told us about 4 really specific circumstances for the teams that got the byes. And now all 5 conference champions are out as well. All 5 teams that won their conference fail to make the semifinals. All right, Ravens-Browns to wrap up the regular season tomorrow here in Baltimore. Always a pleasure to welcome in our next guest. You, of course, see him on the Pat McAfee Show. Former Ravens defensive coordinator, former Colts head coach, and all-around good guy. He is Mr. Chuck Pagano, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn and Stan here in Baltimore. Always great to catch up with you. Happy New Year. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Hey, Happy New Year to you guys as well. Thanks for having me. I love coming on, as you guys know.
I always love chatting with you, Coach. And I know you're fired up about this Ravens defense. I wonder if you could kind of take me inside. It's not that long ago, Coach, that in Baltimore we were perplexed. We're not used to seeing bad defense in Baltimore over the years. But the Ravens, at the midway point of the season and even kind of early into the second half of the season, had the worst pass defense in the NFL. It was awful. What do you attribute to the fact that here we are, and over the last 6 weeks, they've been arguably the best defense in the NFL?
Yeah, I think, number one, Zach Orr gets named defensive coordinator, as soon as Mike McDonald's out the door and goes to Seattle as the head football coach, following Mike McDonald and what they did that season. I mean, their numbers were absurd, right? And so you got a first-time signal caller. I've been in those shoes. It's not easy. There's an adjustment period. So I think, number one, you mentioned the last 6 weeks, since the bye, that defense has given up, I think, 11 points a game in their last 3, under 300, like 254 total yards. So I think they had a chance, during that bye week to do some self-scout, some self-evaluation. They made some adjustments to the defense. So I think, Zach Orr, number one, is settling in. Number two, move Kyle Hamilton to safety full-time. We all know, how much they put on Kyle's plate, in that defense. He was all over the place. He was playing, nickel, big nickel, dime, safety, blitzing, covering, all those kind of things. So they moved him full-time, back there at safety. So him and Ardarius Washington do a great job of communicating. So the explosive plays, because of, communication breakdowns, those have been limited. Marlon Humphrey moved into, full-time as the nickel corner. We all know what a tremendous player he is, leads that team in interceptions, so far, this season. And, so solidifying that spot. Nate Wiggins has played, his tail off. He's a rookie out of Clemson that has only gotten better. You bring in Dean Pease, who Coach Zach knows that system, knows that scheme. So, he was able to get in there and collaborate and share his thoughts. And then, they got healthy. I mean, they were missing, big baby Michael Pierce, Travis Jones on the defensive line. So they get those guys back. Kyle Van Noy, I mean, he's having a career year.
Unbelievable.
Getting quarterback sacks away. So, it comes at a really, really good time for this Baltimore Ravens team.
Coach, some of those shifts in the secondary, do you think those were the insights of a more veteran play caller in Dean Pease? In other words, did he come in with sort of a fresh set of eyes and just say, hey, these are some subtle things or not so subtle things we can do to bring the best out of the group?
Again, I think you had a chance to. I would say yes. I mean, the years of experience, those are invaluable, right? You can't put a price tag on the experience that Dean Pease has and the job that he's done for so many years at that level. So, yeah, you bring that in, and then I think again, you sit down and you have a chance, to do some self-scout, some self-evaluation, and say, okay, look, are we doing best thing by these players? Because as a coach, you just want to put your players in the best position to succeed, right? Give them the best chance to have success, and so say, okay, look, what if we just simplify, dummy things down a little bit, put these guys in one spot, and just let their athleticism, let's don't ankle weight them, so to speak. Let them play fast, let them play aggressive, let their athleticism shine, so to speak. And so I think they just, combination of all those things have led to their recent success on defense.
Coach, I heard you reference last week that you now believe this is a unit that can win a Super Bowl. And it's funny because early in the year we were sort of saying, hey, this doesn't even need to be a great defense. It just needs to be not awful, right? Because the offense was so good. But the way that the offense continues to perform combined with this level of defense, do you believe that this is a gauntlet that they're going to have to face? The most likely scenario is they're going to have to be in Buffalo and in Kansas City in back-to-back weeks. The way that both ends of this team or both sides of this team are playing, do you believe they're capable of running that type of gauntlet?
Yeah, to your point, I mean, it's a tall order, but this time of year, I mean, you could, run the ball. If you can run the ball, which they can, they're number one in the National Football League and stop the run, and they're number one in the National Football League and stopping the run. And then you got Lamar Jackson, at quarterback. You've got this defense now that is playing at a high level. You mentioned the gauntlet. You mentioned the scenario. You're probably going to get Justin Herbert and the Chargers at home in all likelihood, right? And then you got to go to, Buffalo and face Josh Allen and that football team, and then go to KC and beat Pat Mahomes. I never would count out, I'm biased, as you guys know, but I'd never count these guys out. That is a tall order, but those are three unbelievable quarterbacks. Kansas City, I mean, shoot, until somebody knocks them off, I mean, they're unbelievable. You got Hall of Fame head coach, Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame DC, Hall of Fame special teams coach, and Dave Tobe. I mean, yeah, but the way they're playing right now, and after Lamar's mom dog cussed him, not using his leg, he's been a different cat. So yeah, I do think they can get this job done.
Coach, I wonder, you just bring up Lamar. There's been so much made in the last couple of weeks that, everybody's getting their salary this year just by debating who the MVP of the NFL is. I ask your perspective as someone, who's had to game plan against some of these guys and, who in a scenario where you would be game planning against them. Josh Allen is remarkable. I'm not trying to take anything away from Josh Allen. I think Lamar Jackson might be the most special individual that's ever played the position. But when you look at those guys, does one of them stand out to you and you say that this is definitively the MVP of the league?
Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable debate. Love listening to everybody do that with these two players. They're both incredible. I'm glad I'm sitting in my office in this chair, retired right now in Boise, Idaho, looking at these foothills and not having to sit there and game plan for either one of these guys. What they do for their teams, their ability to extend plays with their legs, buy time, throw from the pocket, outside the pocket. It's absurd, and I'm biased on both, obviously, because having spent time in Baltimore, I love that organization, Love what Lamar's doing. You know, I'm a Wyoming grad. Josh Allen's a Wyoming grad. I'd love to see a guy like that, former Wyoming Cowboy, you know, win one of these things. Absolutely. But I mean, their numbers are sick. But you know, Lamar's got a chance to all-time passer rating, right? He's got a chance to break that. First quarterback in the history to have 4,000 passing yards and over 800 rushing yards. You know, Josh Allen's got 12 rush TDs, 28 pass TDs. Lamar's got 43 total TDs. They don't give the ball away. Josh has cleaned that up. I think if you pull both these guys off their team and you got to put somebody else in, you can say, okay, hey, Lamar's got, you know, more weapons. He's got this, he's got that. But I mean, kudos to him and congrats to him for making the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Mark Andrews, you know, but he hasn't had, you know, all they're good players, you know, and you take away, you know, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and what, you know, Josh Allen's been able to do with Shakir and bringing in Amari Cooper and whatnot, two good tight ends. So I think both are deserving. You know, I'm not mad with either one. To say there's like this fatigue over this MVP debate, you know, like, okay, Lamar's already won it, so let's just give it to Josh. That's not fair either. Let's just look at this season. Let's look at the body of work. Look what they've done in 2024, and make a decision. So I'm good. I'm good either way.
Coach, is it possible that we're undervaluing position coaches? We talked a little bit about the Dean Pease assist to Zach Orr, but what a job the O-line coach has done coming in after Joe D passed away. Could you talk a little bit about the job, and his name is escaping me right now, the O-line coach who took Joe D's job?
Oh, Waldrop, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine the circumstances, you know, and how beloved and special and great of a coach that Joe D was, you know, and to lose him tragically like that. And then, you know, it's just absurd to think of, you know, the job that this guy's got to go in and do. So, I think we do. I think, you know, there's so many unsung heroes on all these staffs. We hear, you know, when you play the position of the quarterback or you're the signal caller on offense, Todd Monken, the job he's done, Zach Orr on defense, getting that thing shored up. There's so many guys behind the scenes that we never hear of that do just an unbelievable job. But if those five guys, like the most important coaches, like when you hire, you know, a guy gets a head job, you know, you got to have the coordinators, but you better be really, really good on the offensive line. That coach has to be special, and he has to know what he's doing. You're coaching five guys, and if those guys aren't connected and playing on a string, and it's like the defensive back coach too. You know, that guy's got 4 and 5 guys. If those guys aren't top-notch, top-tier coaches, and that thing gets sideways on either side of the ball, and the offensive line protecting your quarterback, your most valuable, you know, prize on the, you know, precious prize on the team. So I think sometimes we do undervalue those, and we don't hear about those guys, and some of those guys like it that way.
Yeah,
you know, because when you go ahead.
His name is George Warhop, and he's the offensive line coach now. But of all the teams in the NFL this year that were leaning on the expertise of their O-line coach when training camp started, I think the Ravens, with so many new faces and moving pieces, they were really counting on Joe D coaching up this young group, you know, to get them up to muster, and for George Warhop to come in the way he had to and sort of take on that mantle and gain that much respect. It really is a pretty special thing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, 3 new starters, right?
Yep.
They had to replace on that offensive line, and George has been doing it a long time, and so obviously a well-respected coach in the National Football League, and certainly, you know, John's not going to, you know, put just anybody in that spot, but man, kudos to Coach Warhop and the job that he's done and those players, for stepping up and that galvanized that group.
Yeah.
Obviously in that room and that team, and they're playing at such a high level for so many reasons. Other than winning football games and an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, but certainly for Joe D too.
Coach, before we let you go, it would take a miracle for the Cincinnati Bengals to end up in the playoffs, right? Like, not only would they have to win, but the Dolphins would have to lose to a Jets team that's been utterly dysfunctional, and the Broncos would have to lose to a Chiefs team that's not going to be playing any of their guys. So I don't think there's a chance in hell that the Bengals are actually going to get into the playoffs, but there's been so much made about how dangerous they would be if they did get in. And we all watch Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and we know how special they are. But is a team with a defense this bad really that much of a threat? Or are we too hyper-focused on one position, fantasy football, that we kind of forget that that you have to be a football team, and the Bengals at no point this season have proven to us that they're capable of being a fully functional football team?
Yeah, I think nobody wants to see them, and everybody's hoping that, to your point about what a miracle, like I got a better chance of, pulling a rabbit out of a hat, rubbing a ball, genie come out and whatever, than them getting in, I think. But the way that Joe Burrow's playing, to your point, and Jamar, is going to probably win the Triple Crown this year as receiving, receptions, yards, and touchdowns for the receivers. But the defense has played decent, a little bit better of late. And then, with an offense like that, and Joey B as hot as he is, and those wide receivers, I guarantee you nobody, wants to see them right now. But, when you look at the entire body of work and how they've struggled on the defensive side, they've lost a lot of pieces, a lot of great pieces. Those two starting safeties there that aren't there anymore, I mean, it's hard to replace. I think Hubbard gets hurt. Hendrickson's having unbelievable season. He's top 3 in sacks. But, just because when you can score points, it doesn't matter where you score them, on the road or at home, I'd be nervous. I'd hate to see those guys in the playoffs, and I guarantee you there's a bunch of defensive coaches, teams that are making the playoffs that don't want to see them get in.
Coach Chuck Pagano, how you feeling? How's your health?
Awesome.
That's what we needed to hear.
Awesome, blessed. Yeah.
Great.
Got
Great
another year. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I should run this by you before we let you go, because Terrell Suggs is a finalist, right? And I can't imagine that there's any argument from anyone about Terrell Suggs getting into the Hall of Fame. But do you have a 30-second response to why it is that Terrell Suggs belongs and deserves to get in this year?
Great player, great teammate, better human being. His numbers, speak for themselves. He was I feel so blessed and thankful and grateful that I got an opportunity to be on the same team with him, be around him, watch him work as a professional, day in and day out, a true pro. There's no doubt. I hope T Sizzle is such a joy. He brought so much joy and fun to that. I got so many damn stories, and we don't have time for any of them. But what a stud! Congratulations to him, and really pulling for him to get in. Yeah.
Chuck Pagano, always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for spending the time with us this morning. Let's talk again real soon. All right.
Appreciate you guys. Happy New Year.
Coach Chuck Pagano with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time for us.
Always great insights.
He's the best. Love Coach Pagano. All right. By the way, I'm a doubter on the Bengals. Like, when everybody else is, first of all, they're not getting in. I don't even know why we're wasting all of this time. Like, imagine. They're not getting in. But even if they do, they will have, if they get in, they will have had one win over a playoff team, and it will be Saturday night against the Steelers. Like, that's the reality of what the Bengals are. And I get it. Joe Burrow's incredible, and that's sort of what you're saying is, well, if you think the defense is better, but he always keeps saying, well, yeah, but look at what they did to the Ravens in those 2 games. Well, do you think the defense is better or not? I think they are. I don't think they would be throttled the way that they were throttled in the 2 games against the Bengals, which, again, they still won. They still won, both of them. I don't fear the Bengals. I don't in any way. They get in, God love them. Go get them, boys. I don't.
Who would they play?
They would play the Bills, and that's the thing that a lot of Ravens fans is like, boy, maybe you could knock out the Bills in the process.
Right.
I just would be excited because that'd be a good game. I think I feel like that'd be a better watch.
It'd be
Denver,
more
Buffalo.
fun, probably. Yeah. It would be more electric. I do agree with that, but it's just not happening. We're wasting our time. It's not happening.
Who will this? If it plays out that the Bengals don't make it, who will the Steelers play?
They would go to Houston.
They would go to
as long as the Ravens, don't fall on their face tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be something.
Although, again, even if the Ravens were to lose and the Steelers lose, then the same scenario. Steelers would go to Houston. Ravens would host the Chargers. All right, when we come back in, we will chat with PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka. That's next. Stands here. It's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now, and it's our very special Best of 2024 issue. On the cover, we celebrate our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Lamar Jackson, as Bo Smolka profiles what the quarterback means to the community beyond the football field. Also inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of the year in local sports. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read the entire issue and find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Yeah, that math doesn't. It can snow, but it can't stick.
Right.
All right. So I'm not really sure what the story is. Yeah, there's apparently some snow in the forecast. The real one is there's a storm in the forecast Sunday night into Monday. Right. There's an actual snowstorm in the forecast, but it's the same thing. It's at first they said, it could be over 7 inches of snow, and then they're like, well, it might be more like 3 to 6 inches of snow, and
1 to 3
at most.
Right.
And that's on Sunday night to
Sunday night going into Monday is when there's a real storm in the forecast. So I don't know, man. I'm not even going to bother with it at this point. Yes, if it's going to stay 38 degrees, then I can't imagine the roads being. I just got a text that said my kid's school was closing at 1 o'clock. I was like, yeah. I was like, oh. Anyway, hi. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Stands here. It's a Friday edition of the program. So we're getting you ready for the Ravens regular season finale. Let's bring in, as we do every Friday, PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka, who's with us now here on GCR. Bo, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. How are you?
You're the gloating Bo Smolka.
Gloating?
Yeah, Notre Dame and Navy with victories.
Well, that is true. It's been a good bowl season so far for me. That is true.
You actually
I was glad to see Notre Dame win last night.
I was going to say, you buying into it? You think they can win a national championship?
Well, I think they could. And as my son said, Notre Dame had this narrative that they just simply couldn't beat SEC teams come playoff time. So I'm glad that they did. So is he. He's quite relieved.
Yeah, I mean, it was a backup quarterback. But you know what? I'll leave it alone. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that bit today. I'm not really sure what there is to say about this game tomorrow, Bo. But my God, the Ravens better not screw this up. They better not end up finding themselves in any trouble on this one. I want to ask a couple of things, just more bigger picture, if we could. I think I'll start with, for you, defining what you've seen and the way that this has turned, and whether you look at this team now and say the way that both sides of the ball are playing, you start to buy that they are primed to be a team that's capable of making a run and going on the road and beating the best teams in the AFC and getting back to a Super Bowl.
In a big picture, I think they are. I think that they've kind of, we've all seen, they've fixed things defensively, and that's made a big difference. John Harbaugh has proved over and over again that he can get his team ready to win playoff games on the road. Now, I know Joe Flacco was a big part of that in that time, but they can win playoff games on the road. That I don't have any doubt about. The biggest thing I think the Ravens have to contend with is their own short-term history in the playoffs, and there's no getting away from it. Lamar Jackson hasn't played particularly well, and quite frankly, they've kind of panicked in playoff games at times. And if they were to get into a playoff game and things go south in the first 10 or 15 minutes, what comes next? And we don't know that. And I will say, a couple of years ago at Tennessee, they gave up a big touchdown. They gave up an interception early, and it looked like it was going to go south, and they recovered and got it together. But that's the thing that this team has to kind of exorcise itself from, is this playoff hex. And Lamar Jackson knows it. He's going to be asked about it a million times between now and their first playoff game. And if they win that, the next one. And that's who they are. It's who they've been, and they can't run from it.
Bo, I couldn't have said that better myself. It was perfect the way you described that. How much of a demon is that for them? Or is this just a different team this year with momentum building as they get to the playoffs?
I mean, you like to think it's a different team. It feels like it's built differently, with Bateman playing the way he is and Zay Flowers being a different guy than they had in some years, and certainly Derrick Henry being someone. Now, they've had 1,000-yard rusher and Mark Ingram before, but in that 2019 season. But it feels different. It feels, and obviously it's a group that's playing with a lot of confidence now, which is kind of ironic because when they won the Super Bowl in 2012, you might remember, they lost 4 of their last 5 games, and that kind of stumbled into the playoffs and then got hot. You want to be playing your best at the end of the year. I think there's no question in the last 3 weeks the Ravens have played really well, and and so you like to see that. And the other thing is, you've got some of these guys like Kyle Hamilton, who hasn't been part of some of those disappointing playoff runs. And so there's not as much history for some of them. It's still going to come down to Lamar Jackson and how he handles the moment. And that's the big part of it. I mean, is he going to turn the ball over? As this happens sometimes in playoff games. Is he going to be as sharp as he's been? It's a tough offense to defend. We've seen that. Are they going to be crisp? Are they going to be confident? Is Todd Monken going to stay in control in ways that Greg Roman did not? Those are all questions that will be answered over time.
He is Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer, and he's with us here on GCR. Bo, I think the question about whether or not the defensive turnaround is legitimate, I think we're past that now, though, right? This is – I don't think there's any reason to think that, they're going to get into the playoffs and now revert back to being the defense that they were in the first half of the season.
No, I don't think so. As long as they, moving Kyle Hamilton to free safety, as I said, I was beating the drum that they're a better team with him near the line of scrimmage, and now I realize that that's just not true, because when you put him in the line of scrimmage, they were exposed at the back, and that was partially because Marcus Williams was exposed in the back, and now Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington moving into the starting lineup. I told you before, everything is just more settled, and they're not giving up the big plays. And think about it, if they don't give up those big plays in some of those other games, they probably win them. But the ones that they lost. So everything seems more settled on defense. I don't see any reversion. That's not to say they won't have something won't go against them or whatever, but they're fundamentally tackling better. They're getting to the spot better. They're not giving up the big plays. They're getting pass rush, all of it. And because of all of that, they're just playing with more confidence. They're playing together as a defense. And so it looks like a different defense than it did in, say, week 4.
I think there's no doubt about that. The news this week, Pro Bowl nods. Look, a lot of deserving Pro Bowlers, but I think the one that stood out the most, obviously, was Zay Flowers becoming the first wide receiver in Ravens history to be named to a Pro Bowl. And I don't think that he needed to be named a Pro Bowler in order for us to say that the Ravens have finally – I think we already had that answer about Zay Flowers, and he goes over 1,000 yards this season. But it does feel like it is a statement for this organization that's something that has been just hellish for them in their history, drafting and developing wide receivers, and even adding in Rashad Bateman just being as helpful as he's been. The idea that the worm has finally turned for this franchise in terms of the wide receiver position.
I mean, it feels that way, and I know that the Ravens showed a video of Eric DeCosta informing Zay Flowers that he had made the Pro Bowl, and honestly, it felt you could see almost the relief in DeCosta's expression, like, my God, we finally got one.
No, what you were about to say there, Bo, is it felt like it almost meant more to Eric DeCosta than it did to Zay Flowers.
It might have. It very well might have, and I've had people ask me, like, almost with disbelief, like, wait, that can't be true. The first one?
Yeah.
And so people stop and can't even imagine that's the case. And then you say, well, who else would it have been?
Is that the Is that the first one that they've developed?
No, first one at all.
So Derek Mason and Steve Smith never
not
were
as
Pro Bowl.
Not as Ravens.
Not as Ravens.
Not as Ravens.
Wow.
Nope. And so they're first. Now Jacoby Jones made it as a punt returner, and Jermaine Lewis made it. Technically, there were, but neither of them made it as a wide receiver.
And Travis Taylor didn't make it.
Travis Taylor never just came up a bit short. I think when Brashad Perriman didn't quite.
Yeah. So this is the first one, Miles Boykin.
Wow.
This is the first one to make it as a Raven, which is really quite remarkable. You're right. I mean, I think Eric DeCosta is finally like, well, there's one they can finally stop saying.
Right.
They can't say that anymore.
Right.
So I think he probably was relieved, and good for Flowers. I mean, we have seen from the first week he got here as a rookie that he was kind of a difference maker for this team, and he stayed healthy. He's been the guy that you think is going to be. He catches the short passes. He's so evasive, and he and Jackson have really developed this chemistry that really works. So good for him.
I'll add to it. If you saw the video, they put out videos for all these guys. They put one out for Derrick Henry, and it's borderline hilarious because Derrick Henry just does not care. And in fairness, when you've accomplished as many things as Derrick Henry has, why would you? Okay, cool. I guess that's
great.
That's neat. Like, I think you can almost see in his face, like, not only do I hope I'm not there, I think I might choose not to be there, even if I am. Like, it's God bless him because Eric's trying to make it like a thing. Like, hey man, we're happy for you, and Derrick Henry just does.
I get to go play flag football.
Like, just does not care that he's been named a Pro Bowler. Like, yeah, okay, cool, sure, great. What else we doing today? It's a very funny video. Bo, as far as tomorrow is concerned, is there any danger in your mind? Like, I hate the idea of being dismissive of this, particularly remembering that the Ravens did lose to the Browns earlier this season, but the Browns don't have a quarterback right now. They don't have a running back. They do have Myles Garrett. Like, you got to, if he plays, then that is something, but it is really hard for me, even as pragmatic as I am, to try to come up with any way in which I think that there is a risk in this football game.
I mean, unless the Ravens kick the ball around and drop it at their own 10-yard line a few times, I agree with you. That would be the only way, I think. I mean, I think the Ravens' biggest goal in this one is to be efficient and get a lead and get off the field and get Lamar Jackson off the field, kind of like the Houston script. Get a big lead and let these guys sit down for a while. That would be the hope. If they stumble their way through the first half and it's 13-10, that's not good. I still think over 60 minutes, they just have so many just better players available to them. Obviously the number one concern is getting out of the game healthy. You don't want Myles Garrett coming around clobbering Lamar Jackson and having him hobble off in the first quarter. That would be the worst possible scenario. So you try to get through the game. You try to get a comfortable lead. You try to get the main guys you want off the field. You only have 53 though, or not even that many for the game. So you can't rest everybody, but there is a situation where they're going to, I think you would want to, as in Texas, get the big lead and then just get the key guys off the field. That would be the goal.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Bo, do you have a thought at all? Do you have any interest in weighing in the ongoing NFL MVP debate that has kept networks in business this week?
I mean, I think that I think Josh Allen is going to win it. I don't think he should win it. I think Lamar Jackson deserves to win it based on if he has a certain day tomorrow, he'll set the all-time record for passer rating for a single season, passing Aaron Rodgers. So by almost every metric, Lamar Jackson should win it. He's having a better year than he had last year when he did win it. I hear the voter fatigue, and I see that I know Allen's got the Buffalo's got the better record. I don't know. I would vote for Lamar Jackson. I suspect Josh Allen's going to win it. But again, Lamar Jackson was asked about it. I think that's the last thing he's worried about right now. I think he's worried about getting this team into the playoffs and through the playoffs, and that should be what he's worrying about.
Agreed wholeheartedly, and that's sort of where I'm at. I think you're right. I think Josh Allen's going to win. I think Lamar Jackson should win, and I think that it's not that big of a deal because he's got bigger fish to fry. So we're in agreement when it comes to that. At B Smolka, that's how you follow him. And if you haven't yet, Bo wrote our cover story about our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Lamar Jackson, for our best of issue of PressBox, which is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox, and you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com.
Excellent job.
Yeah, tremendous job, Bo. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, buddy. We will talk to you next Friday as we get ready for a playoff game.
All right, you bet. Thanks. Take care.
Bo Smolka with us here on GCR. Griffin, I just sent you the Derrick Henry video, although you kind of let me see if I can pull it up as well so that Stan can see it. You also have to see him as you hear his complete, dismissive doesn't do the service. It's almost annoyance. So here's the deal. If you play it, I need you to tell me so I can play it at the exact same time for Stan to see it. Because I've never seen someone less interested in anything than Derrick Henry is in being told that he's a Pro Bowler.
All right,
you ready?
Yeah,
right.
ready and go.
Okay.
What's up?
What?
You good?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, you made the Pro Bowl. First team. Starter.
Bet. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I'm sure you, after the season you had, it's expected, but we got bigger things to do, obviously.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We had 9 guys make it.
Damn.
I know.
I think you get. I don't think you need more.
First time.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, that's why he came out
Yeah.
here.
Dude.
Thanks.
Okay. Sure.
What's up?
Thanks.
You bothered me you called me in for this.
Tell me I'm a Pro Bowler? Really? I don't know if you've met.
What a surprise.
Right. And I'm not the people that this is the problem
Did
with
you make the Pro Bowl?
No, I came a little short. I think I was a 12th alternate actually for the Pro Bowl. There is people on the internet that will do the bit where oh, this just proves Derrick Henry's not no, dude, he's Derrick Henry. If you're Derrick Henry, finding out you made the Pro Bowl just isn't that big of a deal. You've accomplished way too many things in your career to still be worked up about getting the news that you made the Pro Bowl. Oh, cool. That is, if you're Derrick Henry, that's the appropriate reaction to it. That is exactly what it is. And poor Eric DeCosta, who wants it to be a big, this is the funny part. I am convinced. Do you have the Zay Flowers one?
I should go find it.
The Zay Flowers video,
Is he more excited?
Zay is way more excited. Way more excited because it's a big deal for him, obviously, to have made his first.
All you have to be is alive to be more excited.
Than Derrick Henry was.
He was so annoyed to have had part of his day. Like all Derrick Henry's thinking about is I just got to get another bowl of kale, dude. Can you just let me go? Trying to get ready for a football game.
I was thinking of Jake at State Farm.
Yeah. Do you have
Yes.
the Zay Flowers one?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ready and go.
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, you got set? You made the Pro Bowl.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh.
You made it.
Oh. 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 Oh.
I think you might be the first receiver drafted that made the Pro Bowl. But you made it, man. You made it.
See, this is cool.
You made it. I knew you would. First time I ever saw you, I knew you would. Excited, man.
That's what
Believe that?
You do this so you can get
that's crazy,
videos
though.
like that. That's the reason why they make these videos is so that they can get ones like that.
So
where they
shouldn't have released
the Derrick Henry one. 100% should have been left on the cutting room floor. 100%. Just don't.
Showing a still of the hug.
Right. Here's Eric letting Derrick know he made the Pro Bowl. That one did not need to be out there for the public.
Roger Goodell's not real happy about that.
Derrick Henry is so annoyed.
Right.
He's just, yeah.
Well, the good news is he doesn't have to play in the game, right?
Derrick Henry? Well, I mean
if
nobody
the Ravens,
has to. If the Ravens are in the Super Bowl, none of them will be. None of them will go.
Right.
But if they're not in the Super Bowl, Derrick Henry. Yeah, I mean, it's
he could
Derrick
go.
Henry absolutely could be the type of person that would say, I'm good.
I'm good.
All good, dog. I've done that thing. I don't need to make another trip. Now, there are incentives, and they are trying to monetarily make it worth it so that guys don't do that because they want to have the biggest stars show up in hopes that they can get some TV ratings for whatever this is. But yeah, I mean, I could certainly see Derrick Henry particularly based on that response. I'd almost, if I were the NFL, I'd maybe be prepared for Derrick Henry to choose otherwise. Man, that is rough. All right, still to come this hour, we're going to chat with Dan Orlovsky. Also, we will look at the Browns side of things. Their buddy Gerard Cherry from the Browns Radio Network. That is all on the way. Stan is in studio. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at driveeasymd.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll. receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCRs. We're into hour number 2 of today's program. Yes, Dan, since the last time you and I talked, Corbin Burns did indeed sign with the Diamondbacks. It's difficult, and I worked my way through it, writing about it for PressBoxOnline.com this week, which is the report that John Heyman said that the Orioles outbid the Diamondbacks for the services of Corbin Burns, but Corbin Burns just decided that, my family's in Arizona. Arizona's the place for me. That's where I want to be right now.
I got taxes are a lot different,
and I got young kids. That's the best case scenario. It's easy to not fault the Orioles and say, well, look, they tried, they outbid the team that got him and didn't get the guy. It's easy to say something like that, but it doesn't change.
Corbin Burns could have seen Griffin's whip snakes thing.
You think that would have been the difference?
Yeah.
You think that
knowing that we were?
I don't know if that would have.
The Diamondbacks are kind of like.
You think that's what happened there? Is made him his snake. He said, "I want to experience that. I want to be somewhere where they might do the." Fair enough.
I want to be a snake.
So you're saying this is all Griffin's fault?
It was right here.
Yeah, right. Like he could have been
he could have
been a Whip Snakes fan.
The real snake pit is home field.
So I do think it matters that the Orioles apparently offered over $200 million to a baseball player. They've never done that before.
Right.
I don't know how much it matters because they didn't get that guy, but I do think it matters to some extent that for those of us that have been like, hey, this new ownership is no different than, and not I say us, it's not me.
Right.
The new ownership is no different than the old ownership. Well, the old ownership never did that. They never offered $200 million to a baseball player. That never happened. The most they ever offered was the money that Chris Davis signed for, which was a lot, and let's not forget that. But they never offered $200 million to a baseball player. And if it had been mid-November when this had all played out, and they make the offer to Corbin Burns, then I probably would have been in more of a place where I said, "Okay, cool. Now just go take that money and go get Max Fried, right? Like, go do it." That guy isn't there anymore. The Orioles clearly thought they needed to spend on pitching. They didn't get the guy. They're left with what's left at this point. There were reports this week from The Athletic that they were, back in on Jack Flaherty, which leads to a lot of eye rolls from Orioles fans who remember the Jack Flaherty that was in Baltimore in 2023 and offered very little at that point, but he certainly had a good season a year ago. The Dylan Cease conversation won't go away. And Stan, the part that I'm struggling with is there's a part of me wants to say if you are considering moving Dylan Cease, could you try to make the trade and then offer the Corbin Burns money or the bulk, not all of it because Corbin Burns is elevated above Dylan Cease, but a lot of that. And
I read last night that Cease is projected to get like $108 or $110 million. That's what I read last night.
If I'm Dylan Cease, based on what these pitchers just got this year, that you might go ahead and double that.
Right.
100.
What the heck? I do see that report now.
Who is that from?
That is from Newsweek.com.
That sounds like it was taken from somebody else. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
It might have been one of these like ESPN projections or something.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
I'm still confusing why they'd report that projection when that's so clearly.
I'd
accurate.
say he's a $150, $170 million pitcher.
That's
probably.
I would think, and I don't even know who the other free agents are next year because a lot of that is also.
I'd be talking about a 6-year contract at probably like $26, $27 million a year. Probably. For Cease.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's value for this ownership group to do both things.
So Spotrac has that's what they have as value.
Well, they've been
now.
off on every. I don't think they've gotten
you're
one
saying
thing
both
right.
things signing
both
Flaherty?
acquiring. No, I'm talking about specifically with Cease. Both acquiring a
him
pitcher,
and
but
then
proving how it's going to be different this
Right,
time. Saying we're not just going to be doing this every year. We try to find somebody on an expiring contract. we are invested in spending money and getting someone around. Now, this is all easier said than done. Like, if what the
takes two to tango.
If the Padres are saying, yes, Cease can be available if we sign Sasaki, well, then you're going to have to keep waiting for another couple of weeks before Sasaki's going to sign. And then he's got to choose to sign in San Diego. And then San Diego might turn around and say, and still.
And our name hasn't been overtly attached to Sasaki, but that doesn't mean that the Orioles want to wait and see. Maybe they feel that they're in that.
Yeah, maybe they thought when they signed Sagano that would.
The fact that John Heyman hasn't said the Orioles are in on him doesn't mean
that they're not. No, 100%. They're not. Doesn't mean they're not in on him, and it would be insane for any team to not be in on Sasaki. There's no argument for any Major League Baseball team to not be in on Sasaki.
Right.
If you
talking him into
if you've taken yourself out of the Colorado Rockies should be in on Sasaki.
Right.
There is no team in baseball. I don't care how little money you're looking to spend. That's what this is.
I would say it's fair to bet that he will not be a Rocky or a White Sox.
You're probably right that's not where he's going to end up. But to the point, all of these teams should still have at least
they should be kicking the tires.
Correct. Like this is. Imagine if someone said to you, Stan, I can get you a mansion for $50,000, and you were like,
I'm good.
Just really not in the market for a mansion right now. It's just not really. I think I'll pass. Like that's what we're talking about in this scenario. Look, to say the least, they have to add pitching. The answer can't be, well, we're just going to ride it out there with Dean Kramer and Sagano and Suarez and Povich and hope that we have enough to get through until Kyle Bradish. They have to still add pitching. The more puzzling part to me, Stan, is that we're this deep into the offseason, and their bullpen has, on the whole, been downgraded since the end of the season. It's not just they haven't upgraded; they've lost from their bullpen without additions.
Well, I could argue, though, that the trades they made at the deadline last year fortified the bullpen in some ways. I mean, especially the Soto that we saw the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Yeah.
It requires an amount of confidence that's definitively the version of Soto that you're getting.
You're talking preaching to the choir. To me, again, I'm very fine with Jack Flaherty, where you don't have to give up any more prospects, because it's not like the system is dead, but it's not teaming with.
No, we're on the back end.
Basayo and Mayo, and a couple other fringe guys, but I'm fine with Flaherty, and then give me like Tanner Scott or Jeff Huffman, somebody that is a difference maker in that bullpen.
To me, that's the part that I keep clicking back to and saying, look, if you didn't get Corbin Burns back, then the answer needs to be bulk arms, and bulk in the bullpen quality arms. And yes, Tanner Scott's the one that it just sort of screams at you because you say, boy, isn't that ideal? You've got a bona fide closer if Felix Bautista isn't Felix Bautista early on in the season. And even if he is, you have a left-handed version and someone that you can count on, because you're not going to be able to use Felix Bautista for 5-out saves and for, the 2-3 appearances in 4 days, types of ways.
You don't know exactly what you're going to have with Bautista.
At all. 100%. I'm bummed that this is where the Orioles are pitching-wise on January 3rd, but I still acknowledge that there's not a baseball game. There's not a baseball game to be played.
March 27th.
Correct. So for me to say that they have failed or something, no, I can't do that. They have time to change it, but they still have to change it.
By the way, I won't be here on March 7th or 14th.
Is that when you're headed down to Florida? Stan making his annual trip down for a hot dog. That's for those that don't know. That's what he does. He goes to Florida. He has a hot dog, and he says, "All right." And then he actually hangs for another couple of days.
I'm here for the cash back.
Matt Leinart. By the way, the most difficult part of that commercial is trying to convince me that somebody was that excited to see Matt Leinart. Really? Oh, Dad, it's Matt Leinart. And Dad didn't say who? Who?
Have you had him on the show to discuss that with him?
Who, Leinart?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I haven't had Leinart on since I was in Arizona. And remember, the Cardinals in their infinite wisdom decided to start Matt Leinart over Kurt Warner decided that Matt Leinart should be their quarterback over Kurt Warner. That was a thing that occurred. Denny Green, may he R.I.P.
Is Bill Bidwell still alive then?
Yes, he was at the time still.
Yeah, but one of them won a Heisman Trophy. Glenn, so.
That's true. One of them did win a Heisman Trophy and had. It's always difficult for me. Who had a left-handed quarterback that was playing the other day?
The Penix? No.
The Falcons?
Yes, that's exactly who it was. I know that left-handers can play the quarterback position. Right. I know it's true.
Tim Tebow.
No, that's not the Steve Young. Maybe would be where he would start. Michael Vick. Yeah, there are plenty of lefties that are play. But every time you watch one, you just say, "This is not right. It doesn't look right."
So
it
someone
left.
It just looks like their throwing motion is all.
So since the Falcons the other day, they're running like another trick play or whatever, and was it Bijan that threw or Drake London threw a pass or something? Either way,
I don't remember.
They were left-handed. It was Drake, and they ran one in the past too, like last season. And again, it was the other one. It was either Bijan or Drake London. They're both left-handed. Drake London and Bijan are left-handed. Penix left-handed. So someone also pointed out Tyler Warren, the tight end for Penn State, is left-handed. So they're confirming that. The Falcons are going to draft Tyler Warren because they just love left-handers.
Sure, that's going to
love lefties.
That's going to be what happens.
That's how it
works.
That is some player, Tyler Warren.
Oh my God, man, he's a
monster.
monster.
Be the best tight end in the class, Dan.
Is he?
Harold Fannin, Bowling Green.
Yeah, I mean he caught a lot of balls. He's
Tyler. Great season.
Yeah, Tyler Warren.
He was like the conference player of the year.
That good a prospect?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. Everybody knew Brock Bowers.
Some player.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, no question about it. A couple of notes quickly. Number one, congratulations to Keaton Mitchell. It was announced today he is the Ravens Ed Block Courage Award recipient for 2024, of course, coming back from the torn ACL. And, boy, when we were ready to write off Keaton Mitchell again this season, he came back and he looked really good on Christmas in the game against the Texans. And will be more Keaton Mitchell tomorrow as Justice Hill will be out for the game against the Browns. And it'll be interesting to see if all three are available in the playoffs, how they go about handling that and how they use them. But congratulations to Keaton Mitchell.
Aaliyah's out too, right?
For tomorrow? I don't remember. You might be right.
He
He did get banged up, but I don't remember if.
I want to see he practiced at some point this week.
Okay.
So we're not sure. I think he's questionable.
Hang on a second. Ravens injury report. The only one that I saw that was Rasheen Ali. Well, he was a full participant in practice, so he doesn't even. He's not even questionable, so he's good to go. He has no designation. The only ones that are out are Justice Hill and Jalen Armour-Davis.
So the Ravens are going to be a 20-point favorite tomorrow.
Yes.
And is Derrick Henry going to play much?
Yeah, I mean they have to win the game.
Yeah.
Like they can't go into the game treating it like they have to go into the game like it's a playoff game.
You don't think you or I could run for them tomorrow against the Browns?
Let's be fair, the Browns.
How many hits from Myles Garrett do you think you could take?
Yeah, the Browns still have.
Well, I didn't say I'd want to play. I'd let Glenn take all the hits from Myles Garrett.
Out for the Browns, Denzel Ward, Dalvin Tomlinson, Jordan Hicks, Jerome Ford, Pierre David Njoku is out for the Browns. They are. It's bad.
So Myles Garrett didn't practice until yesterday,
right?
In a limited fashion. So it looks like he will go, but.
I mean, if you're Myles Garrett, there's also a question of for what reason exactly? What is the purpose of going out
Legacy.
there? Deontay Foreman.
He's auditioning for his next team.
He has kind of let on that he's sort of sick of it at this point. Deontay Foreman would be the lead back for the Browns. John Kelly would be the backup running back. Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Kelly's son. Sure. John Kelly.
Sounds like a good
would be their backup for tomorrow's game. And then the other one that got a lot of attraction this morning before we chat with Gerard Cherry, John Rothstein reports the NCAA is considering allowing 5 years of eligibility for players in all sports moving forward, per an NCAA official. The topic will continue to be discussed in early 2025.
I mean, that's more or less like what it already is.
No, but it happened that way because of COVID. And then we said, now we'll go back to normalcy where you're in college for 4 years. Now, I get it. Red shirts change a lot of that. And that's the problem with this, is they're not going to – if the answer to this is we're not going to do red shirts anymore, everybody just gets 5 years. However much you get hurt, you get 5 years to play college athletics. And if this is their way of trying to get rid of the bit where players opt out 3 games into their season to protect a year of eligibility, then there's something to be said if the NCAA is trying to do this proactively and say, look, we're getting rid of, you get 5 years. However many games you play, however many, you got 5 years to be a college athlete.
Do you think that's what they're doing?
I don't know. That's the problem with this tweet. Because if they did that, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, then the NCAA would actually be forward-thinking. And I would give them an amount of credit for it, which is that, like, these stories of guys that are playing 8 years, the Cam Risings of the world, like, they're not feel-good stories. We all hear them and we say, yeah, this is too much. This is nonsense. What are we doing? Like, what is the point of this? So if the NCAA is trying to do this to be proactive and to say, dude, we don't care. Whatever goes on in your medical, bad situation, anything along those lines, you got 5 years to be a college athlete and then you're done. I'll listen to that argument. I'll 1,000%. But if it's just you get 5 years and you could still get redshirt and a player could still opt out after 3 games and go somewhere else and protect a year of eligibility and they could still, now you're going to have guys who are going to be playing for 9 years. So that would be my response, is we'd have to know what the actual details of what the NCAA is trying to do.
They could make a career out of that financially.
Well, that's for some guys. That's what they're trying to do.
$9 million.
They're purposely choosing to leave after 3 games because they're saying, I'm never going to reach the NFL. I'm never going to reach the NBA, but I could get paid, $300,000 to be a college athlete somewhere next year. So I want to make sure I protect my right to get as much of that as I possibly can. All right. Ravens-Browns tomorrow here in Baltimore, Week 18. Joining us now to try to tell us something interesting about the Cleveland Browns. He is, of course, a 3-time Super Bowl champion and part of the Browns radio network. He is Mr. Gerard Cherry, and he's back with us here on GCR. Gerard, it's Glenn and Stan here in Baltimore. It's always great to chat with you, my friend. Happy New Year, and thank you for taking the time for us.
Same to you, Glenn. And heck, I want to go back to your college conversation because I'm fascinated by it.
Dude, so,
I wish I was playing now.
Oh.
I was certainly that 9 to 10 year plan, and ultimately, I think that's what's going to happen.
So
college sports will be pro.
Okay, so tell me, because I don't know if you heard how it started. Apparently, the NCAA is considering giving everyone, all athletes, 5 years of eligibility.
Right.
And when I hear that, I say, come on. But if the answer to me was you're doing it because what you're saying is we're not doing red shirts anymore, we're not doing 3 games and opt out, you got 5 years. So when you start to when you finish, 5 years, that's your time to be a college athlete, and whatever happens, happens, and then you move on. I'd listen to that argument. To me, that would be kind of compelling of, sure, there are going to be guys who are going to get 5 full seasons out of that, but it maybe prevents having the scenario where you have guys linger for 9, 10 years because they're trying to manipulate a way to stay eligible for as long as they possibly can.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And I've called games in which I have had guys that are 8, 9 years of playing college football. So that does exist as we speak. So I'm of the opinion that either you do what you just suggested, or you know what? It's unlimited. Until you just make it unlimited. Because at this point, what's the difference?
God, could you imagine? We're talking about, like, I'm not going to make it to the NFL. I'll just keep playing at Oregon for the next. I'll just be here until I'm 34. Like, life is good. Man.
Why not?
God, what a world. What a world. All right, Gerard Cherry. You know what? Before we talk about the Browns.
Gerard's going to make a big comeback in college football.
Right. Go back to Cal. So, Gerard, I'll pose it to you because I'm sure you've been asked about it a billion times. Speaking of college football, your thoughts on your former coach and whether how is it as seismic as some people think that it can be, or is Bill Belichick at North Carolina just the next coach at North Carolina? Like he can't suddenly just show up and be Nick Saban on day one.
I think I don't think that can happen. Much respect to all those college coaches out there who work their tails off, and obviously Bill is one of the best in the business, and there is an adjustment from the college to the pro game and vice versa. I see this really as him setting his son up for success down the road, which is a noble do on one hand. And also, too, Bill has me thinking in these terms as well, guys, in that when he made his introductory speech, he said nothing about student athletes. He was like, I'm here to help guys go pro. So that told me everything that I need to know, that we're seeing a watershed moment in college sports where they're not even parlaying the idea of student athlete. It's just going to straight up be athlete.
I mean, look, that's the reality, and so in that way, he might be very much the right man for the job. There's no doubt about that. All right, Gerard Cherry, can you in any way make this compelling tomorrow? Can you? I feel like this is difficult because we do have to acknowledge in Baltimore the Ravens lost to the Browns. Like, that happened. We all saw it with our eyes, but I still am really struggling with, as depleted as the Browns are and not knowing what the quarterback situation is and assuming that guys are just ready for the season to be over. Are we wrong to be as dismissive as we're being in Baltimore about this matchup tomorrow?
Well, first and foremost, can you guarantee that the powers that be, when I sell this bad boy, will give me a cut of the gate ticket sales?
Yeah. I get it, man. I don't have that for you.
Well, here's the thing. You have, in the case of the Browns, a situation where Bailey Zappi is going to get opportunity to play. Now, how is that going to motivate the skilled position players to go out there and try to achieve personal goals? You got to figure that may equate into it, because ultimately, you do know this when you're a losing football team, that you are being evaluated like no other. And if you do not take care of business, you will find yourself in a spot to win.
Oh, just lost Gerard Cherry. We'll let him. We'll try to reconnect with him and continue.
I think
on.
he was running back to college.
Yeah, right. Trying to take advantage of his newfound eligibility. Like, I didn't get a fifth year. By the way, that's the next thing that comes. This is really going to be how many athletes now sue the NCAA over the fact they didn't get their fifth year. Now you're giving fifth years and we didn't get it, and
now they're paying.
I mean, like, it's going to. These guys have all gotten NIL checks from the last lawsuit.
Yeah,
like they've all gotten like retroactive checks
dating back to when?
I don't remember how long it dates back. I don't know all the details of it. Let's go back to Gerard Cherry. Gerard, you were talking about how these guys are playing. You know, they are still playing for future opportunities.
Yeah, they're playing for future opportunities. And you missed the part where I said Myles Garrett made a statement that, hey, I'm here to play. I'm here to ruin the Ravens' day. And he's trying to win the sack title. So that right there is enough for the offense to concern themselves with, because he can wreck a game, as you guys have witnessed before.
No doubt.
So you definitely have to pay attention to that. And on the offensive side of the ball with Zappi, we don't know what we're going to get, because we have a situation where they're talking about DTR and Bailey both will have opportunity to prove themselves. So you're at least going to get a competitive effort from those two guys, because they're trying to secure their opportunities in the league. So it looks like it should be a blowout on you guys' part, but crazier things that happen in the AFC North.
Gerard, I know your work with the broadcasting of the games, and I'm not asking you to say anything controversial. Do you get any sense which way the wind is blowing there with both the head coach, the general manager, and Deshaun Watson? Whether you think there's a chance in hell that all three could be back next year?
Oh, put it this way. All three are highly, and I mean highly, not even snowball's chance, but actually a sinner's chance, a murderer's chance in hell that they're going to be back. So they're back. They've already established that. So Deshaun has done some things with his contract, and the owners pretty much come out and said that head coach and GM will be back.
We'll be back. Okay.
Yep.
We'll be back.
Yep. Now, I think the assumption is Deshaun Watson isn't being told that he's the starting quarterback moving forward, correct?
Yeah, that is the wrinkle in it all, because in previous seasons and years it's been he's our designated starter. This is about him. It's about creating an offense that suits his needs and everything about Deshaun Watson. No longer the case. They've actually put out there that, hey, it's going to be a quarterback competition, and he will not be given the spot automatically based upon his track record in the past prior to coming to the Browns with the Texans.
He is Gerard Cherry. He is with us here on GCR. Gerard, you brought up Myles Garrett a minute ago. He's kind of led on to some frustration and kind of being sick of going through the losing and being now at a little bit of an older age. And do you feel like that there is something coming to a head there, or is that just a veteran expressing frustration because it does suck to lose, but Myles Garrett is committed and you expect that he's going to want to stay in Cleveland moving forward?
Well, one, I don't Myles Garrett doesn't strike me as the type of guy that just says something for the heck of getting a soundbite and having us talk about it and speculate over it. So I definitely put some stock in it, and that he was sending a message to the powers that be that, hey, this is what I'm thinking, here's what I'm feeling. And he did this not at the end of the season, but he did it with 2 weeks left in the season, which was, I thought, very interesting because normally if you make these type of statements, one would think to make them once the season is commenced, right? And after you've had the opportunity to talk to the powers that be about off-season plans and things of that nature. But he was preemptive, and he struck. So, yeah, I put something on it, and I'm pretty sure he's had conversations with ownership, with management, and with the coaches and letting his grievances and his issues be heard. And I have to imagine, consider that he is the greatest defensive player in my mind ever put on a Browns uniform, that they're going to listen to what he has to say.
It's interesting. Somebody would say if not Myles Garrett, then what is the Browns' identity? And I guess the answer would have to be whoever their next quarterback is.
Right, and that's a mystery in its own right because because of the Deshaun Watson situation, you can't go in. Say for example, if you want to chase the idea of Sam Darnold and the Vikings let him go, you don't have the funds.
Right.
More than likely that and gut your entire team. So a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's basically going to take that Atlanta Falcons money and go elsewhere, makes sense. Or you have a Justin Fields scenario where you get him on the cheap, or you draft a quarterback. And I'm here to tell you right now, I don't think a rookie quarterback is the savior for this team. That guy needs to be developed based upon the guys that I'm currently seeing in the college ranks.
Well, other than that, everything's good, though, right?
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, think about it. Last year this time, I was talking trash to you and telling you how.
God, man. Other than all that. Although, again, in fairness, the Browns still have kind of had the Ravens' number a little bit in recent years. It's crazy.
We would definitely trade positions where you're at right now.
I have no doubt that's true. Gerard, could I get you to weigh in? You know, obviously, as you'd imagine, everybody in Baltimore thinks that the answer is one way, but as a neutral observer, where do you find yourself as far as the NFL MVP conversation is considered?
Where do I find myself? Well, here's the thing, man. For example, with Lamar, I feel bad for him because what's going to happen, he's going to have the same issue take place that took place in college, in that he should have won the Heisman the following year because he gave you better numbers, right? And they gave it to someone else. Same thing's going to happen this year, and it's more about let's spread the wealth. So Josh Allen's either going to get it or Barkley's going to get it, one of the two. And it's not because Lamar's not deserving. It's just simply put, they want to spread the wealth. And you can throw Joe Burrow in the conversation, but what Lamar's done has been phenomenal. And the crazy part about it is, as much as we want to hate on you guys here, there is a deep respect for what Lamar Jackson is accomplishing and the type of that he is.
It's funny you say that, but like I hear that from Pittsburgh too. I hear that like it's wild how there's just something about that dude and who he is that like it's really very difficult. And part of it he's a seemingly good guy, right? Like he's never embarrassed anybody. He doesn't run his mouth. Like it feels like there's this respect for Lamar that goes beyond the rivalries. That like, dude, it's hard to root against that guy.
Well, no, he's a competitor, and if you are a person who loves sports, what he puts on display, his unwillingness to die and his don't give up, and the amazing things I've seen him do. Heck, I'm still trying to recover from when he took a bathroom break and come back and won the game. I'm still dealing with that.
It was a great night. It was a great night, Gerard.
Hey, Gerard, I got one more question for you concerning Deshaun Watson. A lot of times, and we've seen it with Sam Darnold this year, out of nowhere, somebody that we sort of had on the scrap heap has come back and accomplished, at least in one season, some pretty amazing things. Is there still anything left in the tank of his abilities, aside from what we think of him as a person, what his success rate has been in Cleveland? Is there still a player there underneath all this?
Put it this way. I've seen glimpses. I've seen flashes of brilliance. And obviously I've seen situations where it's like, oh, my gosh, what are we doing? So the key, he'll have to do what Darnold's done. Made it more of that's amazing and being in a situation where everything is clicking and the confidence comes back. Because right now I think that's the bigger issue for Deshaun. Simply put, getting his confidence back. And how do you regain your confidence? You regain your confidence by having success on it. Far about it is interesting. There'll be moments where he would start having that confidence built up, and then next, a blindside sack would come from nowhere. So it was a mixed bag situation with him under center, or better yet, in shotgun with us here in Cleveland. But I certainly don't want to count anyone out because, believe me, if I had told you last year that Sam Darnold was going to have an MVP type of year in which he's going to be fighting for the 1 seed in the NFC for the Minnesota Vikings, you'd have asked what type of hallucinogens that I was on.
At JR Cherry 3, that's how you follow him.
Very well put.
Gerard Cherry, we look forward to you using your newfound eligibility and seeing you back out.
I
got one thing for you guys, though. You got to do me one favor.
Yeah.
Please, when the Ravens are more than likely in the AFC Championship and they're facing more than likely the Chiefs.
Oh, God.
Run the ball.
Dude, don't. You're telling us, man. My God.
Hey, Glenn and I want a piece of that action that you get with all the.
Yeah, we want to be your NIL
money.
agents moving forward. We want to be. we want a piece of it.
I'll give you the number. Give me the idea.
Hey, Gerard, appreciate you, brother. Always good to talk to you, man. Looking forward to doing it again soon. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
Take care, guys. Take care.
Gerard Cherry.
That reminds me, whenever I go in and buy a Mega Millions ticket,
Mm-hmm.
when it's like a bit 1.3 billion, I always say to the guy that sells it to me, I said, "Hey, if I win, I'm going to give you $100."
There you go. Look at you. Look at you. You know the store that sells those tickets gets. It's like a big deal.
Oh, it's a big.
The
very
store gets a cut.
Right.
Of I want to say like.
But I'm sure the guy that punches the tickets.
Yeah, I'm sure that guy. It's whoever owns the store, 100%. What does the store get? Hang on, listen. What does the store get that sells the winning ticket?
Like 50 grand.
Depending on state law, selling a winning lottery ticket can mean a big payout for a retailer, but how much is it? Seller can earn a reward of up to $1 million.
Wow.
For being the store that sold the winning ticket. Yeah, it is significant for that store.
I always buy my lottery tickets, and I don't know why. I get stuck on a place.
Okay.
I buy it at Dugan's Liquors.
Okay. Do you think they have better lottery tickets at Dugan?
On Reisterstown Road. Benny Thompson was best friends with the owner.
Okay, all right.
And before he moved to New Orleans, this owner was very, very sick. And he wanted to give the liquor store to Benny Thompson.
Oh, that's.
And Benny and my wife were talking about my wife.
Oh, they were going to run it, yeah.
Yeah, but Benny moved to New Orleans,
and so that never happened. If you want, Griffin said he'll run it for you. If you want that, he said he could take care of running the liquor store for you. This is, I swear to God, Stanley, because I know the jackpot was up there this past week. I convinced myself, because I have a neighborhood store.
Right.
They don't spend any money with us, so I'm not going to choose to promote them. That I go to whatever.
Yeah, screw them.
I do go buy a lottery ticket, and I always, when I walk in, like, there's no chance this place is selling. I somehow convince myself that it's the store's fault that I'm not going to win. I can't. There's no way the Moncton Mini Mart's going to be the one selling the winning. That's not going to happen. No way. It's going to be somewhere else. Like, that makes any sense at all. Like, one of these stores is going to sell a winning ticket. Who knows what it's going to be? But I convince myself it's the store's fault that I have yet to be the big winner when it comes to Mega Millions. That's my brain. That's the way that it functions. You getting out of here?
Yeah, I'm going to duck out because you got a taped interview with Dan Orlovsky, who I absolutely love.
We don't have to give it away. We could have pretended it was live. We could have pretended that you just had to leave. You had to get out of here early. We could have done that. We didn't have to. We didn't have to show how the sausage was made.
Oh, but you needed to get. You had to schedule him on a.
That is true. We did have to schedule him when you weren't here. You are not back in action next week, you said.
Following week, I'll be back in action.
Following week, back to.
And then again, if the Orioles do something,
sure,
we'll probably jump on and do something.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
You and I will have picks next week for the playoffs.
100%. You got it, man. At Stan the Fan. At Stan the Fan is how you follow him. If you haven't been over to County Sports Zone recently, you're missing every score for every team, every sport, all over the state. They've got you covered for boys and girls basketball. Anything you missed, you want to learn about players that are on the rise, you should be paying attention to? Find out. countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Yeah, Dan Orlovsky's going to join us. Definitely joining us right now. That's going to happen next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
PressBox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/gameday or PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/game day.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Friday edition of the program. And yes, as Stan mentioned, we did have to do this a little bit earlier on, but we had the opportunity before he comes to Baltimore tomorrow to catch up with Dan Orlovsky right here on GCR. Of course, Ravens wrap up the regular season this Saturday, 4:30 here in Baltimore when they host the Cleveland Browns. The game will be on ABC and ESPN. And that will involve our next guest, of course, analyst for ESPN, former NFL quarterback. He's on the call. He is Mr. Dan Orlovsky, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Dan, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's been a long time. Appreciate you taking the time for us. Hope you and your family are having a happy new year.
Yeah, same to you. You as well, absolutely.
Hey, man, so I guess we could pussyfoot around it or we just dive into it, right? Like, are you feeling right now like whenever you do a TV show, you're almost like dodging bullets at the moment? Are you at the point where you're just like, God, I'm ready for this to be over with?
I think there has been moments over the last like 10 days of that, but I think one, I'm very like aware I choose to do this job, you know, and choose to say the things that I say. So it comes with it. Two, I've just pivoted to the mindset of like, all these guys are just absolutely remarkable. Everybody's losing their mind today because Baker Mayfield isn't in the NFC playoffs, or excuse me, the NFC Pro Bowl. And it's like, well, who are you going to take out? Because so many of them are playing so well. So I'm very content and comfortable with it. Just celebrating all the greatness of many of these guys.
You'll be stunned to learn that I think that Lamar Jackson should be the NFL MVP. But let me finish the sentence for a second. I also have said out loud a couple times, I think that Josh Allen's going to win, and I don't think it's some sort of travesty if that's the case, and I'll be fine with it. I don't love the idea that he might win because simply he's never won one before. Like, that doesn't seem like it. But I get it. Like, he's been really good. They beat the top team in the AFC and the NFC. I understand that there is a strong argument for Josh Allen, even though I just think Lamar Jackson might be the best player in football at the moment.
And there's probably not a big argument not logically to stand on against it. I think that's kind of the resignation is we're just being very honest about it all. There's 10, 12 guys that are, having quote unquote MVP caliber seasons. And then there's, the guys that you realistically sit there and go, okay, well, who actually can win it, giving, kind of, I guess, the narrative around, well, you're not going to win it if your team's not in the playoffs more than likely. So does that knock off a Joe Burrow, and who's absolutely unquestionably having an MVP caliber season? Sure. Well, Saquon Barkley, MVP caliber season, absolutely. But you're not going to give it to him because he doesn't play quarterback, and he's not going to break Eric Dickerson's records for some people. They think along those lines. So then it comes down to Josh and Lamar in many ways, like the guys that we feel, yes. And that's why I've said, like, two of these guys are going to win Offensive Player of the Year and MVP, and two of them are going to be disappointed and frustrated. So Lamar's having a remarkable season. Josh Allen is having a remarkable season. I could sit here and talk to you about numbers. Anybody can take the numbers and spin it to the guy that they want to win more in favor of whatnot. I have just sat there and said, given everything that's around each quarterback and the way it looks, I think it's hard not to give it to Josh, just because as remarkable as Lamar's season has been, I think Josh is probably doing as much with less, more than less. You just have to watch it and look at it.
So only for the sake of it, and then I promise we can talk about other things.
Sure.
I swear.
Yeah. It's a great conversation.
I didn't. But I also know that you have to do it every day. So I'm not really. And also, I'm almost at the point where I'm MVP'd out, to be truth be told, Dan.
Yeah.
Is there anything to be said for I think the stronger argument that people would make in Baltimore for Lamar Jackson is there isn't a really bad game in there. There isn't a week where you were
the Pittsburgh loss, maybe he was okay.
Yeah, that was the worst that he was all season, and he wasn't at all the reason why they lost that game, right? Like, whereas on the flip side, there were a couple of games where you look at there was a 9 for 30 in there for Josh Allen. Why does that part not matter? And again, I know that you would say maybe it's just other things that matter more, but why isn't that argument one that resonates more?
Yeah, because I would say they're playing 17 games. I mean, the chance for them to have a game that it is average to below average is probably going to happen. I would tell you that I thought Lamar was average to below average against Pittsburgh in the loss. I thought Josh was really bad against I thought he was worse against Baltimore than he was against Houston, candidly. So, you're not going to get a huge argument to, like, which one. I think that the statistical argument is a little bit flawed, because you can sit there and say, well, then why do people vote? If we're just going to say who's got the best stats, don't have anybody vote. Just computers do it. And so, Lamar statistically is absolutely remarkable. Is he having the best year of his career? You can make the argument that's the case. I'll candidly tell you guys that I've had conversations with people that are associated with the team, and they rave about Derrick Henry and the impact of Derrick Henry and how much that has just made everything for everybody so much better. And so there's that element attached to it as well. I remember to start the season, maybe 6 or 7 weeks in, going, man, I think the guys, it's Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And everyone's like, well, they're all going to cancel each other out in a way. I'm sure part of that has happened as well. So the worst part of all this is that if you say you think Josh Allen's the MVP, people perceive it as, well, Lamar Jackson's not good, or if you say Lamar Jackson's the MVP, Josh Allen's that. They're both having remarkably incredible seasons.
Well, and they're both in the same spot in that, like, well, I guess maybe it matters more to Josh Allen because he's never been MVP. But I think the part of the reason why I'm not the guy that's going to scream about it is because I do think that Lamar Jackson's past this mattering. I genuinely believe that. Like,
you think the fact that he's won it twice is mattering?
I think it's to the point of I have to win a Super Bowl and nothing's going to change if I win a third MVP. Like
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like
for sure.
But Dan Orlovsky's with us here in GCR, and I think that almost is the opinion that I almost have as a Ravens fan, whatever level you want to say I'm a fan, is I can't care anymore. Like, he's won 2 of these and he doesn't have a Super Bowl to show for it. You couldn't get me to care if he wins the third one now. Now it's all about this other thing. Like, this has to be the thing that matters. And it is really interesting to see if they're in the best position that they've been to try to go do that, because as you point out, this is where having Derrick Henry really does matter. Like, if you can get the best version of Lamar Jackson with a Derrick Henry clicking, which you've got for the last couple of weeks, that could be the difference for the Baltimore Ravens and how they can finally get over the hump in the AFC playoffs.
Oh, there's no doubt. I would tell you, I candidly, because we're just on that MVP talk, and I think it's the case for both of them, Josh and Lamar. Like, no one's going to care about talking about them differently until they go win the Super Bowl. I asked Lamar that today. Like, talk to me about how much the MVP matters to you. And he's like, Dan, I remember Lamar saying that this last year. He's like, Dan, I just want to win a Super Bowl. He's like, I haven't won a championship since I was a kid. I never dreamed about winning the Heisman as a kid. I never dreamed about winning the MVP as a kid. I only dreamed about the confetti falling. And I think that's a very genuine mindset for him. I think Baltimore offensively, when they show up and play their game, they're the most impossible offense in the AFC to stop when they show up and play their game. And there's been moments when they haven't this year. I think they're very aware of that when they play their very best, there's no one that can really handle them. And I think that's the question going into the playoffs is which version do you get? If you get their A-plus game, there's no doubt they can come out of the AFC.
So obviously, Dan, like, going to Buffalo, going to Kansas City, those are really difficult things, but that's external. If you just look internally at the Baltimore Ravens, what still concerns you about their ability to make a Super Bowl run?
Yeah, when they get into that, win or go home game, and they don't control it maybe to the way that they expect to or want to, how do they course correct? I mean, that's really kind of been the monkey off their back, both in the playoffs over the past couple of years and this year, is like when they get off schedule a little bit offensively or they're trying to get themselves back on in ahead of the sticks. How do they do it? How do they handle it? And I think that's something that they are more equipped to doing it this year, but that's been a little bit of their issue, a little bit of their MO. And so when that situation presents itself, because you would imagine it's going to, if you're going to have to beat a Pittsburgh and a Buffalo and a Kansas City to get there type of thing, like you would imagine it's going to. So just when that presents itself, how do they go about handling it, and who do they turn to get themselves through it?
Yeah, it's strange, right? Because I think we all know that they're plenty capable of it at this point, right? Like, we know they can do it. I guess the follow-up would be, and clearly it doesn't matter this week necessarily, but how much does their history in the playoffs matter? Like, is that something that becomes a weight within these games? And the way that they kind of came apart in the AFC Championship game a year ago, how much do you feel like they're carrying that as they get into the playoffs in the coming week?
Yeah, does it weigh you down? I think yes. I think that there's also a very real vantage point of they're so much more equipped to handle it. Asking them point blank, you never want to live in the past, but you obviously want to learn from the reasons why it didn't go that way. And they are very much so outspoken about that growth mindset and constantly learning from it. And that's part of the reason why they attacked the offseason with a Derrick Henry addition and how they built their system and the diversity within the system. And so I do think that there's a greater level of confidence that, when those ruts or, that obstacle presents itself, that they're more equipped to handle it, and they've got better people to handle it, and different versions of attacking whatever the questions that defense present themselves.
No, I think that, look, I think it's clear that's the reason they built it, but they still have to go do it, obviously.
No doubt. Yeah,
you know,
that's a real thing. They got to do it, and it's win or go home. Like, that's the reality. And everyone asks, who can beat the Kansas City Chiefs? And it's anybody can beat them, but can you beat them in the fourth quarter when there's 8 minutes to go and you're down 2, and if you don't win, next week doesn't exist?
Yeah, and they're not going to help. They're not going to conspire in those moments. And that, is the best thing that you can say about as good as the Kansas City Chiefs are, the biggest thing they do is they're not going to help you in those moments. They're not going to give you any inch to get you closer to the finish line. You're going to have to beat them. And we can say they've looked like they have looked vulnerable, but I've talked about it a little bit the last couple of weeks. I look at the group of pass catchers they have, and maybe none of them are clicking the way that Rashee Rice was a year ago, but on the whole, that top group of 5, they don't have to rely on Kadarius Toney this year and whether or not he's going to catch the football. That group of Worthy and Hopkins and Hollywood Brown getting into the mix and looking good, and the way that Gray's come on, I actually think in a way they might be more daunting at this point than they were a year ago when they went on to win the Super Bowl.
Not even close. Not even close. They were way more vulnerable last year. Last year, they were this team that had horrific drop issues and awful offensive penalties. And, they credit to them. They figured it out when it mattered the most, but they are way more consistent this year. And, the last 2 or 3 weeks, the movement that they've had at the offensive line positions, that's really the big difference, is that they now have a starting 5 that seems more than capable. And I don't think they're nearly as vulnerable this year as they were last year.
All right. Before we let you go, Dan, if I could, just what does it take for the Baltimore Ravens? And I don't want to be dismissive of this week. I feel like I'm being way too dismissive of this game. We haven't even talked about this game. I'm sure you understand the way that we're feeling here. But but what if we finish the sentence with the Baltimore Ravens will finally break through and get back to the Super Bowl how would you finish that sentence?
I would tell you that they'll finally get back there if, when push comes to shove, they don't forget who they are identity-wise on offense, and when Lamar doesn't overthink the situation. I think that at times they do, and at times he does. And he forgets that he's the best player on the field more often than not. And I think if they can get past that hurdle, that blip, and obviously with the change of bringing Kyle on the back end, and this team is plenty good enough to go get back to the Super Bowl and come out of the AFC.
All right, and you're excited about seeing Bailey Zappi, I assume, on Saturday.
I have a great appreciation for the rivalries. We'll see, who plays and who doesn't for Cleveland. I'd love to see Miles go. We'll see if he does. But I know this. And no matter what Ravens fans think for some reason, I love watching Lamar play. I always have since, he was in school, and that's why when he came out of the draft, I championed him. But I'm also very excited to see kind of Derek in person. I haven't seen Derek in person in a game in a long time. So I'm excited to watch both those guys kind of be on the field together.
At Dan Orlovsky 7 on Twitter is how you can follow him. And, of course, the game is Saturday. It's tomorrow, 4:30 on ABC and ESPN. Dan, we do appreciate you. I'm sure there'll be Ravens fans that are mad at me, and then they can be mad. It's just the way it goes. I thank you for taking the time. I know it's an insanely busy week for you. Appreciate you doing this, and look forward to seeing you in town tomorrow.
You got it, man.
It's Dan Orlovsky, who I know because he is on the Josh Allen side of things. Some of you just hate Dan Orlovsky, and I think agreeable people can disagree. I think if he said that Lamar Jackson was trash, then he'd be insane, and I wouldn't have him on the show. But I don't believe that's the case. I think that Lamar Jackson is the MVP. I do acknowledge that Josh Allen's having a really good season, and I do acknowledge that he's won games against the top seeds, or potentially the top seeds. Obviously, we've got to learn that on Sunday night in both conferences, and that's unique, and that might be part of the argument for some people. And if it is, that's what it is. I've just kind of made peace with it. I keep telling you guys, I have made peace with. I think Josh Allen is winning MVP, so I'm not worked up. It's just that's so it goes. Immediately following tomorrow's game, come hang out with us. PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay for Project Game Day. It's brought to you by Easy Pass and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Myself, Rita, Femi, KZ, Stetka, the whole crew, Griffin, we'll be hanging out with you. PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay, reacting after the Ravens presumably clinch the AFC North and looking ahead to the playoffs. So looking forward to that. Come hang out with us. Could you even imagine?
How long a post-game show we have to do?
Oh, Jesus. Block out Sunday.
Well,
block out the week. Might as well get snowed in on Sunday night because we'll still be doing the show at that point if they somehow lose the Browns tomorrow. All right, I'm trying to think if there was anything. I saw Mike Vrabel's interviewing with the Jets today. There's like the part of me that says, really? You're going to sign yourself up for that?
Like the Jets would? Or you mean Vrabel?
Vrabel.
Okay.
Yeah, not the Jets. It's on the Jets. I'm desperate for anybody.
Why wouldn't they?
Of course they would. And I don't know what that is either, right? Because, is that...
Then how funny will it be when it comes out Vrabel said no? They did offer it to him. And
the problem is nobody really knows, what are the conditions in New York. Aaron Rodgers is now, teasing retirement again, although, hello, we've been there. Even if he doesn't retire, do the Jets say, dude, sorry, we're not doing this again. Best wishes to you trying to peddle your wares elsewhere, but we're not. We tried. It failed spectacularly. We're moving on. I don't know. Or do the Jets say, man, if we just had a different coach, maybe we could still get something out of this? Oh no. If I'm Mike Vrabel, I would think there will be better options for me than either the ghost of Aaron Rodgers or the Jets. Where do they sit pick wise? They're sitting
hold on, I have it right here. I think. At least I did. My Tankathon tab was still open, but now it wants me to reload it. So you may have beat me at this point.
I didn't even look. Okay. I thought you had it, so I gave you way too much trust.
The problem is I gave the internet way too much trust.
All right,
they're probably
the
top
Jets
8.
Hold the. Oh, it's not even the top 5. Yeah, that's they're not getting the quarterback. It's just the reality. They're not getting their quarterback.
Well, they got Aaron Rodgers.
The Jets have the 9th pick at the moment. Now, again, I guess some of that can still get sorted out this week. But the issue being there are 2 quarterbacks that are believed to be. Now, is there some world where someone, Jalen Milroe, goes and wows and someone that we're not talking about as a first-round pick right now ends up working their way into the conversation? Potentially. Right now it's 2. It's Ward and Shador, and that's the list. Milroe declared this week, so we got the answer on that. It is kind of crazy how many guys
are you mean
played in bowl games that Milroe played in his bowl game, Jackson Dart played in his bowl game. It's interesting to see if NIL will change some of that, if the schools are willing to pay, a little bit more money to keep their quarterbacks to their bowl games because they think they're important, if the bowl games themselves or the companies involved with the bowl games might be willing to pay out a little bit specifically to the quarterbacks moving forward to say, hey, look, if you play in the game, we'll give you $100,000 just for playing in one game. And it'll be interesting to see that. But it is weird that both Milroe and Dart played in bowl games. I know Dart was leaving no matter what, but Milroe also played and then announced that he was leaving. That was
especially after playing so terribly.
What's that?
Especially after how poorly he played.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't help him. There's no question about that. The bowl game did not help Jalen Milroe. If I'm Mike Vrabel, I feel like there's
speculation Drew Aller might still, who knows, might flip his mind. And
I read somebody was doing Drew Aller shtick the other night, oh, scouts love Drew Aller. Okay, I mean He's tall. He does have that going for him.
That's all you need.
That's
really all you need. He's the next Josh Allen.
What is he? Is he 6'5", Drew Allen?
I thought he was even tall, or maybe he's like. Maybe
he's
it is.
6'5".
It is.
He's 6'5".
Okay.
Again, like I can see, although like Rourke is 6'5". It's not like just being 6'5" alone is going to make you a first-round pick, but it does tend to make up some of the difference if you're fringy. We'll see. All right. I don't know. Is there anything else?
I don't. I guess not.
I guess not.
I guess we're good.
Got to remind everybody, this is your last chance to take advantage, as Tidbit is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, and we've been telling you about it all year, and if you haven't gotten down there, shame on you, but one more chance.
Yes, tomorrow, because all season it has been every time that Baltimore or Washington's football team score touchdowns during home games, so with Baltimore's final home game tomorrow, Saturday afternoon, every time a touchdown is scored, you have a chance to get $7. Live Rewards members can receive $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, be actively playing as well in order to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, $7 in free slots. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, what you got?
I mean, I know you that you hate them, but Notre Dame did something this season no one else has ever done. Which I guess is it's just
by the way,
lengthy season. But
I don't even have like spirit for my hate for Notre Dame. Like I have spirit for my like Duke hate. I don't really have spirit. It's more just like I feel like anybody who has no connection to Notre Dame should be inclined to root against Notre Dame. But I'm telling you, even as I was watching them yesterday, it wasn't like I was rah-rahing Georgia. It was just more like I would rather Notre Dame did. But this one, because I sure as hell have no love for Penn State. So
yeah,
I got nothing for this game.
Yeah.
I like the people's champion somehow becomes Texas.
I kind of like Marcus Freeman. Like I don't have.
It's so funny you bring that. Reed and I have talked about that. I like Marcus Freeman too. I'm glad he got the opportunity. I'm glad that he has had an amount of success.
But that's really the only thing I feel right now.
I don't.
I like that Kyle Hamilton went there.
It doesn't make me. The funny thing being, I used to be very close with James Franklin. Like James Franklin and I used to be really. We would talk almost weekly. We would text each other a lot. Like when he first took the Penn State job, he was still hitting me up like, "Dude, you got to come up here, experience it, and I'm gonna win you over." I was like, "No, you're not."
Unless he gets you a job, then
what's that?
Unless he gets you a job or something, Then.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you might make me the Penn State play-by-play guy. Then you know what? I'll be Mr. Penn State moving forward. Dyed in the wool. Go Lions. Bring back the statue. I'll do the whole thing. Go ahead.
Okay, so Notre Dame, though, does become the first ever team to beat an AP-ranked opponent in 6 different months in the same season. So you're talking about their easy schedule. Oh, yeah? Number 20 ranked Texas A&M in August. So that was month number 1. 15th ranked Louisville in September.
Correct.
And then they beat number 24 ranked Navy in October.
That's right.
18 ranked Army in November.
Hell yeah, they did.
That's 4 months right there. They beat a number 9 ranked Indiana.
That's right.
In December. That's a top 10 team.
They sure did. That's a top 10 team.
And then they beat the number 2 team in the country, Georgia.
They 1,000
in January.
All of those things occurred.
So yeah. So come on.
History.
Maybe it is.
History,
maybe they're destined. Maybe they're destined for it. And then yesterday, there just weren't a whole lot of new stats going around, but I did mention the Jokic 15-15-15 game. First player to do it in less than 30 minutes. He is one of 10 players. He has the most games. He's done it more than anyone else. But there are 10 players in NBA history that have done 15-15-15.
I can't believe that's happened 10 times.
I know. I was a little surprised. I'm
stunned by that.
Yeah. Only 6 have done it multiple times. Magic has done it twice.
Robertson.
No. No Robertson.
Russell Westbrook.
Westbrook has done it 10 times.
He's done it 10 times?
There's the only guys to do it double digit. So Jokic 11 times, Russ 10 times. The next guy on the list has done it 3 times.
How many more?
I want you to do the 10 because there's only 10 guys. But 7 more. 7 more. Russ, Jokic, Magic so far.
How about Giannis?
Giannis has done it once.
How about... everybody, I'm going to talk myself out of. There's like Jason Kidd used to get triple doubles all the time, but there's just no way he had he didn't get 15 rebounds and 15 points. Not Jason Kidd. It's not Jason.
Not Jason Kidd.
It's not
okay,
Jason.
All right.
LeBron.
LeBron has not done this.
About Dirk.
Dirk hasn't done it either.
About Luka.
Luka has done it thrice, 3 times. So third most ever. With 3, 15, 15, 15 games for Luka.
How many more?
5 more.
5. Holy ass. How about Jesus, man? Man.
I'm trying to. All right.
James Harden.
James Harden has done it once. Yes. Good job.
That was when I was saying I was talking myself out of guys. That was somebody that was talking myself out of. Larry Bird.
Larry Bird has done it once. Yes. Trying to do the math here. I think he might have been him and Magic were the same year, right? Or so. I'm not sure who did it first, but it was one of those.
I don't know when they did it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the exact date, but
Magic was a rookie a year ahead of Larry Bird.
Okay, it was a year
ahead. It's not big men. They're not traditional bigs because.
All right, so we have 2 guys. What do we have? We have 3 more. 2 guys not active. 1 is still active.
1 is still active. 2 guys not active.
The active one is a forward.
Is a forward. I mean, everybody's a forward. Yeah. That's not really helpful. It's a league of forwards.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, it's not Embiid.
It is not Embiid. The 2 non-active are point guards.
2 not active are point guards. Steve Nash.
Not Steve Nash.
Jason Kidd.
Jason Kidd has done it twice.
God.
Jason Kidd has done it twice, yes.
Of course he has. Of course he has. Another point guard, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Another definitive point guard.
Yes, definitive.
I don't know.
Let's see when he last played. He was with the Cavs in 2022. But,
Dwayne Wade?
Not Dwayne Wade.
No, yeah, he wasn't until in 2022. Jesus. He played for the Cavs in 2022. Played for the Cavs in 2022.
A first-round pick in 2006.
First-round pick in 2006. First-round pick in 2006. Played for the Cavs in 2022.
Maybe don't focus on that because he was barely part of that. I don't want to give you the team that he's like known with.
First-round pick in 2006.
Out of Kentucky.
Oh, Rajon Rondo.
Rajon Rondo.
I don't remember him being a Cavalier at all.
No,
I don't remember him
I'm sure anyone does.
Being remotely a
and then
Cavalier.
the final guy on this list is still active. He is a Sacramento King.
Oh, Sabonis.
Domantas Sabonis. He's done it twice.
Right.
Sabonis has done it twice. Right. There you go. You got there.
Who did? I don't know if you saw Jason Tatum at his 150th career 30-point game last night. There are 3 Celtics that have had more 100 or 30-point games in their careers.
Bird,
of course.
That was 150th.
150th career 30-point game. Larry Bird had 223.
I don't think was he there. That I'll go KG.
Not KG. KG's not in the top 25.
Was Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce.
Okay.
It's number 2, 197.
Bird.
I'm not sure
Pierce.
you know who the third person is on this list.
Bill Russell.
Not Bill Russell.
Then there's a good
Bill
chance
Russell
I
had
probably
15.
won't. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Man. All right. All-time Celtics. Okay. Not Rondo.
Not Rondo. No Rajon Rondo on this list.
Let's see. Shaq wasn't there too long.
Shaq, I don't think scored 30 points as a Celtic.
He had to have scored 30.
You say that.
So this guy is like old.
Older.
Okay. Oh, darn. Okay. Who played with Bird? I don't know.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Hold on. as soon as you don't, darn it, what is his name? I know. Hold on, McHale.
It's not Kevin McHale. It predates Larry Bird.
Predates Larry Bird. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm glad you came up with Kevin McHale's name.
Thanks.
That does make me
Thanks.
mad.
He played with Bird.
He did. Yes,
Okay.
100%.
Okay. All
Famously.
Right. Not McHale. Shoot. All right. Who played with Bill? He wasn't Don Baylor wasn't a Celtic, was he?
It's famous. Probably the most famous steal in NBA history.
I'm not sure.
Havlicek stole the ball.
Havlicek?
John Havlicek.
Havlicek.
John Havlicek.
Got it. Should have known.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect you to. 179 career 30-point games.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for Jason Tatum, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I happened to have SportsCenter on late last night in the background. I don't know. After the Maryland game, I was just like, I got to put something else on. It's just so gross. Gross. All right, let's get tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, what we got? Oh, I'm doing tubular, right? Yeah, that's me.
We got sports, Glenn.
Yeah, that's me. I do tubular. God, just had a stroke. All right, tonight, 2 more bowl games. The First Responder Bowl at 4 o'clock, North Texas and Texas State. The Mayo Bowl, Minnesota and Virginia Tech at 7:30. John and Little Rock still
in the lead.
Ahead.
I guess he
front,
had a comfortable
but only
lead.
up by 1 game now.
Ooh.
Over Kelly Sanford and Ryan Flanders, both one
How
game
far back am I now?
behind John and Little Rock.
I guess am I out of
There's
time?
5 bowl games left, so you are.
That's right, because we do include the Natty. So.
Nope, you have been eliminated.
What?
No.
I haven't. I've
You
got.
have not been
I need to
eliminated.
pick against John in every game.
But you don't know how John picked.
No, John, tell me how you picked.
Yeah, if you did pick against John in every game and get all of them right,
and
no
John
one
gets
else
them
in front of you, then you are still technically alive.
You're telling
no,
me
you know what?
there's
I take it back. Because there's still a game tomorrow, the Bahamas Bowl tomorrow.
Okay,
so there's still
okay.
6 bowl games left.
All right.
6.
Hey, John, I'm picking. Let me tell you who I'm picking. Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me
go
tell
right
John who
ahead.
I'm picking. I am picking. I'm gonna pick North Texas.
North Texas.
We're gonna go Golden Gophers, Minnesota in the Mayo Bowl. We're gonna go. Let's go Liberty Flames.
Let's go Liberty. Liberty.
Let's go Liberty.
Liberty.
In the Capital One Orange Bowl,
All right,
that'll be
enough,
Notre
enough,
Dame.
enough,
John needs to know though.
Enough. Mayo Bowl tonight. Minnesota, Virginia Tech at 7:30 on
Penn State.
ESPN. Nothing else tonight that it's not a night for watching sports. Tomorrow, of course, ABC and ESPN for Browns Ravens at 4:30. Bengals Steelers after that at 8. ESPN Plus tomorrow. UMBC's at Binghamton at 2. Coppins at home at 4:30 against North Carolina Central. Towson Charleston tomorrow at 2 on Flow Sports. Big one. Don't know that you're feeling great, but Morgan's at home.
They're on a
tomorrow.
roll. What are you talking about?
That's right. They did win. Morgan's at home tomorrow against South Carolina State at 4. And as we mentioned, the Bahamas Bowl tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., Buffalo and Liberty on ESPN 2. Everything else tomorrow you can find at GlennClarkRadio.com. On Sunday, Peacock for Maryland, Oregon at 4 o'clock. Speaking of not feeling good. And then the Maryland-Iowa women at 6 o'clock. That should be a good one. Maryland women still unbeaten after they beat Rutgers
And that one's on
last
TV.
night. That one's on Big Ten Network, 6 o'clock on Sunday. ESPN Plus on Sunday. Loyola's at home at 1 against Lehigh. Navy's at home at 2 against Lafayette. Mount St. Mary's at home at 2 against Niagara. NFL on Sunday, CBS, the local game, CBS Bills Patriots at 1, Chiefs Broncos at 4:25, Fox Commanders Cowboys at 1, Dolphins Jets at 4:25, and NBC Sunday night, obviously, for Vikings Lions at 8:20. Non-sports.
Not really. There's so Jason Kelsey's doing a thing. They call it late night with Jason Kelsey.
Sure.
It's tonight at 1 a.m.
First of all,
on
at
ESPN.
1 a.m.?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you can get on ESPN Plus tomorrow.
Yeah. What's the point of doing a late night show if you're going to watch it tomorrow, which I'm not, for the record?
Well, maybe you should. But yeah, that's tonight. That's really.
I have no beef. Jason Kelsey seems extraordinarily likable. a very close friend of mine works day to day with Jason Kelsey and loves him, but it's just not, why would I watch the Jason Kelsey show?
There's really nothing else. The Golden Globes are Sunday night.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Nikki Glaser.
Nikki
right?
Glaser is hosting the Golden Globes, going head-to-head with Sunday Night Football.
That's on CBS.
Yes,
very,
on CBS.
Very good. All right. Thanks today to Stan. Thanks also to Gerard Cherry. Thanks to Bo Smolka. Thanks to Chuck Pagano and to Dan Orlovsky. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher?
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Game day tomorrow. The bat around tomorrow morning with Paul, and then we'll of course be back on Monday as long as we're not under a foot of snow. As long as that's the case, in which case we'll figure something out. But I'm normally the type that says we'll be here. That's my typically the nice part is if they do close the schools, then actually I take it back. The schools are closed. The roads by me aren't touched. If they close the schools on Sunday night,
they're like we'll get to there.
100%. I'm 2 days. I'm screwed. If they close the schools. If they wait until Monday morning to close the schools, then I might have a chance. But if they do the bit ahead of time, where they're schools are closed.
They call you on Saturday night, and
I'm effed. I am just hoping for the best at that point. All right. Have a great weekend. Oh, did I thank the guests?
Yeah, we did.
And
Higher tab, yeah.
The whole thing. Thanks to all of our great sponsors and partners.
Yes.
Including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, as well as Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA, Maryland Sports, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Ravens. Go local hoops teams. Duke sucks.